Chapter 24. Lin Xian's face also darkened when he saw that. He transmitted his voice, "Ruffian dragon, stop eating. I'll refine something good for you when we get back. You're too wasteful." Putting aside Zhang Xian, even Xing Tian and Elder Li's lips were twitching. They were experts of Immortal Palace and were used to seeing treasures, but they had never seen such a wasteful thing. The dark red dragon snatched another two and returned to Lin Xian's side. He looked at the three people whose faces had darkened and chuckled. "What do you know? I didn't eat it." He looked at Elder Li. "Old man, take out your jade gourd." "What are you doing?" Elder Li was puzzled, but he still took it out. The dark red dragon took the gourd, opened the lid, and started to spit into the gourd. I'm spitting. Damn. No. Elder Li immediately became anxious. His eyes were red. "That's earth spirit liquid. If you spit into it, how are we going to use it in the future?" Xing Tian was also stunned. "What's going on?" Lin Xian's face also darkened. After the dark red dragon finished spitting, he chuckled. "Why are you looking at me? That's earth spirit liquid. Take a look if you don't believe me." "Damn." Lin Xian stomped his feet in anger. It was indeed earth spirit liquid. It seemed that the dragon did not absorb it but stored it in its body. However, the earth spirit liquid was mixed with the dark red dragon's saliva. It was disgusting no matter how he thought about it. "Damn it, can't you store it in another way?" Lin Xian gnashed his teeth. Elder Li gave him another jade gourd and told him to put it in. Elder Li's face darkened. He gave the dark red dragon a jade gourd and snatched the previous one. He looked at the earth spirit liquid inside. There was indeed twice as much as before. However, when he thought about how he could use the liquid inside to refine pills in the future, he would eat it. Wouldn't that be eating the dragon's saliva? When he thought of that, he felt nauseous. Therefore, Elder Li secretly left a mark on the gourd. He decided that the pills refined from the gourd would be distributed to the other halls. He would definitely not touch them. An intense battle broke out in the cave. Other than Lin Xian's side, the other great sects of the Holy Lands were also extremely terrifying. Boom. Leaf Dowdenier unleashed his sage domain, causing terrifying light to spread out in all directions. No one dared to approach. The saintly body and the power of the remote antiquity families were absolutely terrifying. In another direction, the same light was shining. 108 Buddhas were circling in the sky. It was a terrifying sight. This was the Alcade Saint. As soon as he attacked, he immediately sent the group of people in front of him flying, causing them to be filled with terror and not dare to approach him again. There was nothing they could do about it. They realized that the Alcade Saint's son was too terrifying. His strength was unfathomable. "Get lost. I'm the one who took a fancy to him." At this moment, an angry roar sounded from another direction. Immediately after, boundless demonic chi filled the sky and instantly blasted dozens of powerhouses away. What? The Central State's twin kings. He's here again? Seeing this scene, everyone trembled. They didn't expect the Central State's twin kings to appear again. Moreover, from the looks of it, they didn't seem to be injured at all. Could it be that the previous attempt to sow discord had no effect on him? As expected, everyone thought that the Central State's twin kings wouldn't die so easily. In the crowd, Lin Xian also frowned when he saw this scene. "They're fine? How is that possible?" He was extremely puzzled. Previously, he had successfully sowed discord between the virtuous and evil sons, causing them to fight. From the looks of it, they should be seriously injured no matter what. However, the twin kings were not injured at all. What happened in the middle? He didn't know. In addition to the twin kings of the Central State, the Jade Pool was also very terrifying. Murong Qingqing shot out a lotus flower that spread in all directions. Those people couldn't get close at all. The powerhouses of the Central State's Prince's dynasty were also extremely terrifying. Streams of dragon chi surrounded them like true dragons. There were also the divine monks of the Western Desert and the terrifying powerhouses of the southern border. There were too many powerhouses. Each of them was extremely terrifying. They quickly divided the surrounding earth spiritual liquid. Boom. At this moment, a few figures suddenly exploded, turning into a bloody mist that scattered in all directions. At first, no one noticed it at all. After all, it was an intense battle and it was normal for someone to be killed. However, gradually they realized that something was wrong. That was because more and more people went crazy. Their eyes were bloodshot, and they kept attacking their companions. What was going on? Damn it, someone used an illusion technique. Was it that brat from the Immortal Palace? In an instant, countless people screamed. Many people even wanted to find Lin Xian. Lin Xian also frowned. He didn't use any illusion technique. It should be an expert who used a soul attack, right? The dark rainbow divine dragon flew back. The jade gourd in his hand also contained a lot of earth spiritual liquid. However, at this moment his expression was a little serious. Not good, this place is strange. What's wrong? What did you find? Xingtian asked. Elder Li also frowned as his gaze swept across the surroundings. A trace of golden light appeared in Lin Xian's eyes. In the next moment he felt cold. That was because he found that there seemed to be a few strange things around him. Were those butterflies? Those butterflies were very beautiful and multicolored. However, at this moment there were all kinds of lights in the cave, so no one noticed them at all. After Lin Xian activated his heavenly secret divine eyes, he immediately noticed them. What was even more strange was that there were things tied to those butterflies. What were those things? Lin Xian looked carefully. In the next moment his pupils shrank. That was because he found that there was a bronze bell tied to those butterflies. The bell was octagonal, and there were mysterious runes engraved on it. They were similar to the runes on the blood-colored door outside. They were abnormally ancient. He didn't recognize them at all. However, at this moment as the butterflies danced, the bronze bell let out a tinkling sound. Lin Xian keenly sensed that the sound carried an extremely powerful soul attack. Could it be that all the soul attacks from before were released by the bells on those butterflies? He was surprised. He looked carefully and found that there were a total of 3 bells floating in the air. Lin Xian quickly told the dark rainbow divine dragon Xingtian and Elder Li what happened. After seeing this scene, Elder Li's pupils shrank. Not good, it's flower protector. Hurry up and summon our people back and leave this place. Xingtian summoned all of them back. Lin Xian gave the order. At the same time he asked, Elder Li, what's flower protector? It's a very terrifying weapon. Elder Li's expression was ugly. He said that in ancient times, there was an extremely terrifying peerless powerhouse. This powerhouse had no other hobbies except for beautiful women. Therefore he kidnapped the saintesses of the great sage land of that time and wanted to build a huge harem. Damn, this guy's ambition is too big. Chapter 24-25. Elder Li continued. Think about it, the saintesses of the sacred grounds would be like the masters of the sacred grounds in the future. How could they allow themselves to be kidnapped and become someone's concubine or sex slave? That was unforgivable. Therefore, the sacred grounds sent out a large number of experts to kill this peerless figure. However, that person was quite impressive. He was also a devil. He created a kind of bell and sealed the dozen or so saintesses. The experts from the Holy Lands who had rushed over to help were all reduced to ashes by the bell. This bell was called the Flower Protector Bell by the Demon King. However, Flower Protector had been lost for a long time. Who would have thought that it would appear here? This was definitely a terrifying weapon of mass destruction. Hearing this, Xingtian did not dare to delay and quickly called back the other 2 teams as well as Peacock's men. After hearing this, those people's faces changed. They did not expect such a terrifying thing to be here. Looking at the crazy crowd around them, they were also afraid. Lin Xian gave the order for them to move forward quickly. They had collected almost all the earth spirit liquid. The rest was in the possession of the great sage land. It would not be easy to snatch it again. Moreover, there was such a terrifying weapon of mass destruction here. They might as well go deeper. This was the tomb of a saint and there were many treasures. There was no need to lose their lives here for a bit of earth spirit liquid. Damn it, it was Flower Protector. At that moment, the other elders of the Holy Land also noticed the bronze bell. They were scared out of their wits. After all, they were all elders of the great sage land. Naturally, they had heard of the rumors in the sacred grounds. They did not expect to see such a terrifying weapon of mass destruction. In the next moment, these people snatched the earth spirit liquid and hurriedly ran deeper. They had no choice. The rumors said that this thing was too fierce. In an instant, everyone ran deeper into the cave. There were fewer and fewer people in the cave. However, there were still some people here. The remaining people wanted to snatch the last bit of earth spirit liquid. Of course, there were also some people who looked at the sky with flickering eyes. No one knew what they were thinking. Lin Xian also said, Elder Wang, Elder Lu, take your men and leave first. Elder Li, Xingtian, you 2 stay here to support me. Temple Master, what are you trying to do? Elder Li asked. Lin Xian looked up at the sky. You're saying that this is a weapon of mass destruction? If he could get his hands on it, wouldn't it be a very powerful treasure? No way. Hearing this, Elder Li and the other 2 shuddered. Hu Yidao and the others also had a look of fear on their faces. It had to be said that their palace master was really too bold. Even the elders of the Holy Lands had to flee upon seeing this thing. And their palace master actually wanted to take one as a treasure? This made them feel dizzy. That was too dangerous. Elder Li frowned. The other two elders also had worried looks on their faces. Lin Xian said, "What's the big deal? Wealth comes from danger. Also, look at those who haven't left yet. They're probably thinking about Flower Protector." As expected, the Yi family and the Wavering Light Holy Land didn't leave. In addition, there were also a few holy lands, great sects, and members of the imperial family. Their gazes were all fixed on the three Flower Protectors. From the looks of it, he really wanted Flower Protector. "Older brother Xian, aren't you leaving?" In front, Murong Qingqing asked with a voice transmission. She had a puzzled look on her face. Lin Xian pointed up with a smile. Murong Qingqing glanced at the three Flower Protectors with a worried look. "It's fine, I'm confident." "Alright, be careful." Murong Qingqing and the people of the Jade Lake Holy Land left. She wasn't too worried. She knew that Lin Xian had many trump cards in his hands, and his identity was different from before. His life shouldn't be in danger. As for Flower Protector, their Jade Lake Holy Land had no interest. Therefore Murong Qingqing left. Seeing Lin Xian insist, Elder Wang and Elder Lu took a deep breath. "Alright then, Palace Master, be careful. We'll go ahead first." The two elders waved their hands and led Hu Yidao and the other two as well as 100 elites to the front. Only Lin Xian, the snow-white little monkey, the dark red dragon, Elder Li, and Xing Tian were left. After everyone left, the inside of the cave was already very spacious. There was a large open space. The few people who stayed here looked at each other with vigilance in their eyes. Yi Wudao looked at Lin Xian from the Yi family and smiled. "Brother Lin, which one do you like?" "This one." Lin Xian pointed at the Flower Protector closest to him. "Alright then, I want this one." Yi Wudao pointed at the Flower Protector closest to the Yi family. They didn't care about the third one. Shameless boasting. At this moment, a cold snort was heard. It was from the Five Elements Saint. Around him, the Thousand Thunder Saints sneered. "Kid, I finally found you." At this moment, the twin kings of Jianghu also flew over. He stared at Lin Xian with a cold light in his eyes. His killing intent soared into the sky. Seeing this, Xing Tian and Elder Li's faces darkened. The current situation was very unfavorable for them. Not only the Five Elements Saint and the Twin Kings, but the Thousand Thunder Saint and other families were also lurking here. It seemed that they all wanted to make a move on them. Seeing this scene, countless gazes looked over. Among them, Yi Wudao sneered and stared at the Twin Kings of Jianghu. "You claim to be invincible in Jianghu? Let me see what qualifications you have to say such words." As he spoke, he threw a punch. The golden fist flickered like a golden sun and rushed directly toward the Twin Kings of Jianghu. "You're courting death." The Twin Kings of Jianghu were furious. They didn't expect that someone would dare to attack them. Boom. The evil one waved his death scythe, while the good one waved his heavenly treasure, the Dharma wheel, to contend with them. A great battle broke out. Yi Wudao let out a long roar and rushed over with his golden sacred domain. Firstly, he wanted to save Lin Xian from the crisis. Secondly, he had his own reasons. As a sacred body, he thought that he was invincible. Now that he had encountered the Twin Kings who claimed to be invincible in Jianghu, he naturally had to fight them. Therefore, the two of them started fighting in an instant. Terrifying energy surged in all directions. Among them, a few powerhouses wanted to secretly seize Yi Wudao and the nearby Flower Protector. In the end, they were sent flying by the energy shockwaves and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. For a moment, they didn't dare to have any ideas about Flower Protector near Yi Wudao. Therefore they looked at the other two. One of them was where Lin Xian was. The situation there was the most complicated and many people wanted to make a move. As for the third one, the Wavering Light Saint stood out. "This one is mine," the Alcade Sage said faintly. Although his voice wasn't loud, there was an unquestionable tone in his words. "If you want to protect Flower Protector, you'll have to ask my fist first." The four symbols Saint Child charged over and fought with the Alcade Saint Child. Chapter 24-26. The four symbols Saint Child charged over and fought with the Alcade Saint Child. At the side, the eyes of a few experts flickered as they waited for an opportunity to snatch the Flower Protector. On Lin Xian's side, the Five Elements Saint walked out. 5 colored lights surrounded his body, making him look like a god fiend. "Kid, you're the one who destroyed my 5 Elements palace? You really don't know what's good for you. I'll give you a chance. Kneel down and apologize and I'll spare your life." Hearing that, Elder Li and Xing Tian's faces darkened, and a cold light flashed in their eyes. However, Lin Xian sneered. You're the one who doesn't know what's good for you. Boom. He struck out with his palm. The sun-moon divine palm surrounded the surroundings and pressed down from the sky. The sun, moon, and stars emitted a terrifying light as if a starry sky was descending from the sky. Once the sun-moon divine palm was unleashed, a terrifying energy swept out, causing the surrounding people to scream. They all retreated. For a moment no one dared to attack. The Five Elements Saint shouted angrily. Others did not dare to attack, but he did. Five Elements Fist. With a furious roar, the Five Elements Saint threw out a golden fist with an indomitable aura and charged toward the sun-moon divine palm. An intense collision sounded, and violent energy tore through the void, shaking heaven and earth. The sun, moon, and stars revolved, trying to refine the golden fist. The golden fist was extremely violent, and it instantly shattered many stars. Kid, I heard that you also know the Five Elements technique? Today I'll let you see what the real Five Elements technique is. Earth Fist. The earth rumbled and turned into a ferocious earth dragon. It soared into the sky and directly pierced through the sun-moon divine palm. Then it bared its fangs and brandished its claws, charging toward Lin Xian. Whoosh! Lin Xian's figure flashed and he instantly dodged. However, terrifying seawater appeared in the sky again, completely sealing him. Boundless waves rolled in all directions of the world. It was as if a vast ocean was surging in the void. What immortal palace master! That's all he is. Seeing that he had trapped his opponent in an instant, the Five Elements Saint sneered disdainfully. Buzz! A sword light shone, splitting the seawater in the sky, creating a vacuum. Then Lin Xian walked over. Seeing this, the Five Elements Saint was stunned. Then he sneered. Indeed, he had some strength. However, it was still not enough. Fist of Fire. The Five Elements Saint pushed out his fist, and a boundless sea of fire spread out, erupting with tens of thousands of rays of light. Sword of Fire. On the other side, Lin Xian also performed the Five Element Sword technique. To be honest, he had just started cultivating the Five Elemental Sword. In terms of the Five Elemental Arts, he was definitely inferior to the Five Elemental Saint. However, he possessed the Great Dragon Sword Soul. This was something that the Five Elements Saint did not possess. Therefore, Lin Xian was not afraid of him at all. In the sky, an incomparably pitch-black flaming long sword descended from the sky and slashed downwards. It collided with the terrifying flaming fist. Boom! Boom! An intense collision ensued. Flames overflowed into the sky and spread in all directions. The surrounding people were so shocked that they quickly retreated. Fortunately, Lin Xian and Lin Xian had controlled their strength, limiting the impact to a certain range. Otherwise, the entire world would be filled with boundless flames. You can actually block my Fist of Fire. The Five Elements Saint frowned. In the next moment, he performed the Fist of Water again, wanting to destroy his opponent's Sword of Fire. However, Lin Xian also performed the Sword of Water to counter it. In an instant, the two of them were evenly matched and it was difficult to tell who had the upper hand. How is this possible? How can his Five Elements technique be able to counter mine? The Five Elements Saint's face darkened. He was the saint of the Five Elements Palace, and his Five Elements technique was unparalleled. Yet, his opponent was able to counter him. This surprised him greatly and he could not believe it. Buzz. However, at this moment, a large palm stretched out from the sky. It carried a sky full of lightning and enveloped the flower protector. Seeing this, Lin Xian's face immediately darkened. On the other side, the Five Elements Saint also roared in anger. Boom. The two of them attacked at the same time, bombarding the lightning palm. Boom. 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 Intense collisions sounded. Not only that, but the butterfly in the sky also flapped its wings. Suddenly, the flower protector on its body shook and made tinkling sounds. A formless and terrifying wave of energy rushed down. In an instant, it slammed into the lightning palm. The surrounding space shattered, and the lightning palm dimmed before disappearing. Lin Xian and the Five Elements Saint exchanged 3 moves in the sky, and they each retreated to one side. Whoosh! Their eyes were cold as they stared at another place. There stood a young man in a thunder robe. At this moment, his face was also dark. He did not expect his sneak attack to fail. The Thousand Thunder Saint. Lin Xian frowned. This was an old enemy. Previously, he had fought with him in the eastern wilderness. At that time, both of them were not almighties. However, the other party was already very powerful at that time. Now that he had broken through to the almighty realm, the other party had also broken through to the almighty realm. Moreover, he had reached an unfathomable level. Needless to say, these saints' talents and resources were too terrifying. If ordinary people encountered Lin Xian's cultivation speed, they would have been left far behind. However, the Thousand Thunder Saint did not fall behind. Instead, he was advancing side by side. One could imagine how terrifying his talent was. But so what? Lin Xian would not let him go if he dared to snatch the flower protector. Whoosh! He waved his long sword, and the golden sword flew out like a bolt of lightning toward the Thousand Thunder Saint. The Thousand Thunder Saint waved his hand, and the endless power of thunder and lightning condensed in front of him, forming a Thunder God shield in front of him. Clang! The Thunder God shield collided with the golden sword, making an earth-shattering sound. Terrifying sword chi and thunder rushed in all directions. It pierced through the void. In the next moment, the thunder shield was blasted away. The golden sword seemed to have turned into a golden dragon. It kept attacking, and the Thunder God shield kept retreating until it was sent flying. Whoosh! The golden sword slashed toward the Thousand Thunder Saint. Whoosh! The Thousand Thunder Saint disappeared in an instant, and the golden sword only cut a trace of his shadow. However, as soon as the Thousand Thunder Saint dodged the golden sword, his face darkened. Because the Five Elements Saint had also attacked him. The giant flaming hand with endless holy light fell from the sky like the palm of the fire god, and enveloped him. The Thousand Thunder Saint had no choice but to sweep out endless thunder and lightning to contend with it. In the next moment he retreated again. He quickly said, "Brother Five Elements, I have no malice toward you. Why don't the two of us kill this guy first? Then we can fight for the flower protector. How about it?" That was good too. The Five Elements Saint could see that the Thousand Thunder Saint seemed to have a grudge against the other party. In this way it would be easy. The two saints could definitely suppress the other party easily. They could even kill the other party. Chapter 24-27. No need. Ruffian Dragon, you and Little White quickly seal flower protector. Hearing Lin Xian's words, the dark red divine dragon's eyes lit up. That's right, he was proficient in formations. Coupled with Little White Monkey's treasure bowl, he could seal flower protector more easily than anyone else. Thinking of this, the two of them moved quickly. Xing Tian and Elderly did not make a move. Unless their lives were in danger, they would not make a move easily. Unless Lin Xian gave the order. Now, Lin Xian had no intention of letting them make a move, so the two of them just watched silently. Damn it, get down here. He saw the dark red divine dragon and the little white monkey flying towards the flower protector. The Five Elements Saint roared, while the Thousand Thunder Saint held a thunder sword and slashed out. Boom. Bang. However, both of their attacks were blocked. The ancient dragon abyss sword in Lin Xian's hand emitted a terrifying light. Your opponent is me. You're courting death. Get lost. The Five Elements Saint and Thousand Thunder Saint were really angry. Lin Xian wanted to fight the two of them alone? What a joke. They were saints. The most powerful existence in the younger generation. How dare Lin Xian look down on them? In the next moment, the Five Elements Saint shouted, "Since you're courting death, I'll fulfill your wish." The Thousand Thunder Saint also smiled. He realized that this was the best time to kill Lin Xian. Moreover, he did not think that Flower Protector would be sealed so easily. Sure enough, Flower Protector counterattacked. The dark red divine dragon and little white monkey kept dodging. Seeing this, the Thousand Thunder Saint was completely relieved. In the next moment he stared at Lin Xian. "Today is the day you die." As he spoke, the power of thunder on his body directly pierced through the sky. The terrifying thunder rumbled like a peerless thunder god, mighty and mighty in the entire cave. At this moment, the experts lurking around were stunned. In the distance, Yi Wudao, the Alcade Saint, and the others who were fighting also looked over. They did not expect that Lin Xian would fight the two of them alone. And two saints at that. The surrounding experts started to discuss among themselves. This kid was too arrogant. Who did he think he was? That's right. Most likely, even the older generation wouldn't dare to be so arrogant as to oppose two saints. Just wait and see, he's definitely going to die. The sword in his hand was a peerless treasure sword. After he died, he would definitely snatch it back. These people had already begun to set their sights on Lin Xian. Lin Xian coldly snorted and countless sword rays shot out in all directions. He held the Dragon Source ancient sword in his right hand, while a dragon-shaped sword shadow appeared in his left hand, emitting a terrifying aura. As soon as this sword shadow appeared, everyone's hearts jumped wildly, and they felt a chill run down their spines. Not good, this brat is going to use his trump card, quickly subdue him. The Five Elements Saint and the 10,000 Thunder Saint looked at each other and quickly flew out. Lin Xian snorted coldly. The dragon-shaped sword in his left hand performed the five-element sword art, while the ancient dragon abyss sword in his right hand performed the chaotic heaven destroyer sword. The two heaven tier sword arts, together with the peerless sword chi, attacked. Boom, boom, boom. After an intense collision, two figures were sent flying. When the surrounding martial artists saw this, they went crazy and almost bit off their tongues. One by one they exclaimed, "Damn it! This is impossible. How did he do it?" This was because they realized that the ones who were sent flying were the 5 Elements Saint and the 10,000 Thunder Saint. But how was this possible? The two saints were unable to defeat the other party? What a joke. This scene was simply too shocking. Chapter 24-28. Damn it, what is that sword shadow in his hand? The surrounding people were going crazy. The two saints gritted their teeth, while Xing Tian and Elder Li behind them were also extremely shocked. Originally, they were still a little worried when Lin Xian fought against the two of them. After all, they were both saints who had been famous for a long time. But now it seemed that they were overthinking. Lin Xian's combat power really shocked them. Especially that dragon-shaped sword shadow. Xing Tian and Elder Li's hearts were beating wildly. That was too unbelievable. Their strength was very terrifying, and there were not many things that could make them feel afraid. They did not know what that sword shadow was. But thinking about it, it must be extremely terrifying. Ah, got it. At that moment, a strange laughter came from above. The dark red dragon was extremely excited. The sound attracted Xing Tian and Elder Li's attention. Many of the others also looked over. Damn it. They were extremely shocked because they found that the flower protector on the butterfly had disappeared. Got it? Seeing that, Lin Xian was also happy. He waved his hand and said coldly, "Let's go." Whoosh. He stopped fighting and turned to leave. The dark red dragon and the little white monkey returned to his side. Xing Tian and Elder Li also moved together. Among them, Xing Tian and Elder Li were surprised. Previously, they were only focused on watching the battle and did not look at the dark red dragon. They did not expect that the other party would seal the flower protector so quickly. Oh my god, that's too terrifying. That's a legendary killing weapon. With a gentle shake, it can destroy the body and soul of an expert. Thinking of that, they were also very excited. They had just arrived at the saint's tomb, and they had already obtained a big treasure. They were really overjoyed. Therefore they could not help but speed up. Damn it, stay here. Behind them, the 5 Elements Saint and the 1,000 Thunder Saint were furious when they saw that. They had been fighting for a long time, but the treasure was snatched away by the other party. How could they accept that? So they chased after it frantically. Not only them, but the experts from the 5 Elements sect and the 1,000 Thunder Sacred Land also chased after it. The others were also shocked. They did not expect that the first to succeed would be Lin Xian. For a moment, many people looked over. When they saw that Lin Xian was about to leave, they all had different feelings. Brother Lin, well done. Leaf Dao Denier. The Alcade Saint's eyes flickered, but he didn't say anything. The twin kings were so angry that they abandoned Leaf Dao Denier and shot toward Lin Xian. The scythe of death and the heavenly treasure Dharma wheel descended from the sky with a monstrous aura. Get lost. Lin Xian roared and struck with both swords, shattering the heavens and earth. The death scythe and the heavenly treasure Dharma wheel were all blown away. Lin Xian's chi and blood were also churning inside his body. However, he did not retreat. Instead, he charged forward. Damn it. Seeing this scene, the Central State's twin kings were furious. How could they allow the other party to leave? So they attacked again. Xing Tian snorted coldly and made his move. His fist streaked across the void, and a resplendent light tore through space. It was so bright that no one could open their eyes. Ping ping ping. The twin kings were forced back by the punch. Damn it. The twin kings roared angrily. They did not expect that there would be such an expert beside the other party. However, although they were angry, they did not attack again. On the other side, the powerhouses of the other sacred grounds all attacked. Flower Protector was such a terrifying weapon that it was difficult to seal it. It would be difficult for them to succeed in a short period of time. They did not expect the other party to succeed in sealing it. This was good too. It would save them a lot of trouble. They naturally had to attack. For a moment, many people gave up on the Alcade Sage and rushed toward Lin Xian. Humph kid, let's see how you escape. Seeing this, the twin kings sneered. The 5 Elements Sage and the 1,000 Thunder Sage were also overjoyed. As long as these people stopped the other party, then they could swarm him together. In short, they must not let the other party escape with Flower Protector. Courting death. Don't hold back. Lin Xian shouted coldly. The Dragon Source ancient sword released 2 seals. In his left hand, the dragon traversing sword emitted an incomparable light. Boom, boom. In an instant, Lin Xian sent 2 people flying. The 2 of them spat out mouthfuls of blood. One of them was split in half and the other exploded. After receiving Lin Xian's order, Xing Tian and Elderly also made their move. The 2 of them were peerless powerhouses. When they attacked, they were really terrifying. The remaining martial artists were terrified. They did not expect the other party to have so many powerhouses. Moreover, they were so terrifying. They could not fight against them at all. Many of them spat out mouthfuls of blood. Their bones were broken and they crashed into the mountain in the distance. Bang, bang, bang. The little white monkey appeared and disappeared unpredictably. It instantly knocked out a few powerhouses who were close to it. The dark red divine dragon swung its tail and sent all the dizzy experts flying. Half of their faces were smashed into smithereens. For a moment, no one could stop Lin Xian and the others. Seeing that they were about to enter the passage, the people from the 5 Elements sect and the 1,000 Thunder Sacred Ground chased after them frantically. However, Lin Xian and the others had already entered the cave. The few of them attacked together, and the violent energy exploded behind them. This attack was too terrifying. The few powerhouses were already terrifying. When they attacked together, the power was enough to make people tremble. Sure enough, the people from the 5 Elements sect and the Myriad Thunder Sacred Land were scared out of their wits. Damn it! Dodge! The Myriad Thunder Saint and the 5 Elements Saint roared crazily. They stopped and fled to the back. At the same time, they formed a defensive barrier to resist the energy in front of them. Boom! It was earth-shattering. Countless cracks appeared in the space. The powerful energy blasted them all away. The 5 Elements Saint and the Myriad Thunder Saint felt their blood boiling. The other powerhouses spat out mouthfuls of blood. Their faces were full of fear. Damn it! They escaped. They gritted their teeth and their faces were extremely gloomy. Saint, should we go after them? An elder from the 5 Elements Palace asked. The 5 Elements Saint's face was gloomy. It was useless to go after them. There were too many powerhouses around them. What should we do? What can we do? There are still 2 of them left. Let's fight with all our might. The Myriad Thunder Saint also roared and led his people to join the battle. For a moment, a great battle broke out in the cave again. On the other side, Lin Xian and the others had completely left the cave. Seeing that no one was chasing after them, they heaved a sigh of relief. After all, those were all sacred lands and major sections. Although they were defeated, if they counterattacked with all their might, they would be in danger. Fortunately, the attack from before had intimidated them. Ruffian Dragon, where's Flower Protector? Lin Xian stopped. He looked around and saw that there were not many people around, so he asked in a low voice. In the treasure basin. The dark red dragon said. Chapter 24-29. However, the wind chime was completely sealed. Lin Xian took the Flower Protector and placed it in the black earth. It was not suitable to use it yet. It seemed that it was the same as the sage's hand bone. They could not bear it yet. However, it should be good as a trump card. What a great harvest. I've obtained a powerful weapon. Moreover, I've obtained a lot of earth spirit liquid. Let's go and meet up with Yidao Peacock and the others. Lin Xian waved his hand and they quickly flew forward. They were very fast and flew quickly in the tunnel. However, not long after, Lin Xian and the others frowned. That was because they heard the sounds of fighting and screams in front of them again. What's going on? What happened? Could it be another treasure? Lin Xian was puzzled. They guessed that it was another battle over a treasure. Let's go and speed up. Thinking of this, they were excited and flew quickly again. However, when they arrived, they frowned. Their pupils even constricted. That was because they realized that it was not the case. It was not what they had imagined. In front of them, the people of the Great Sage were attacking the insects that filled the sky. At that moment, in the cave in front of them, the ground and walls were covered with black insects. The small ones were the size of bowls and the big ones were the size of wash basins. They were pitch black and had strange patterns on them. Ka. The insects' teeth were very sharp and could even bite treasured sabers and swords into pieces. That was too shocking. One had to know that the treasures in the hands of these people were at least high-grade earth-ranked treasures, and many of them were even top-grade treasures. However, they were broken so easily. What kind of insects are these? Ah! A disciple of the Yunyan sect screamed. He was surrounded by countless insects, and the armor on his body was instantly shattered. Those insects began to gnaw on his flesh and blood. In the end, more than half of his body was rotten. He fell to the ground and twitched non-stop. Things like this are happening everywhere. Damn it! Get lost! A warrior from the sacred land of Dian waved his huge sword and swept it in all directions. The insects were all sent flying. However, they soon shook off the soil on their bodies and crawled over again. Damn it, how is that possible? How can they be fine? These people are crazy. Their attacks can even destroy the void. But now he couldn't kill these bugs. They couldn't believe it. When Lin Xian and the others saw this scene, they gasped in shock. At first, they thought that it was a treasure. But now, it seemed that it was going to be dangerous. Sure enough, when they arrived at the cave, the surrounding bugs also crazily rushed towards them. Xing Tian snorted coldly and swung his fist. Instantly, the surrounding black bugs were sent flying. However, his expression was ugly. This was because he realized that the bugs were actually fine. How could this be? His fist could easily kill mighty beings. Could it be that these bugs were even more terrifying than mighty beings? If that was the case, then what was the point of fighting? The sky was filled with insects. If they attacked together, all of them would probably be finished. Elder Li also waved his hand, and a huge palm of light instantly caught a few insects, wrapping them within. Then he pulled it in front of him and looked at it carefully. Lin Xian and the others all looked over. What? They discovered that the giant palm of spiritual power was completely useless. These insects were included in the palm, and they began to crazily gnaw at the large palms of spiritual power. Many wounds appeared on the palm before it dissipated. Chi-chi. Those bugs rushed out again. Damn. How was this possible? The dark red dragon was shocked. What kind of bugs were these? Why hadn't he heard of them before? Could they be gold-devouring bugs? He thought for a long time and thought of a name. Hearing this name, Xing Tian and Elder Li's eyelids twitched wildly. No way, that kind of thing had long been extinct. How could it appear here? Gold-devouring bugs, what were those? Lin Xian frowned and asked. He held up the dragon sword domain and isolated the surroundings, forming a vacuum zone. It was a legendary bug that was now extinct. At that time, it was a terrifying existence. Legend had it that the gold-devouring bugs devoured metal as food. There was nothing that they couldn't bite. Moreover, because they devoured metal, their bodies were also very hard and difficult to break. What you said is very similar to these bugs in front of us. It seems that they should be the gold-devouring bugs. No, that's not it. Elder Li quickly shook his head. The gold-devouring bugs were a disaster in ancient times. If there were such a large number of gold-devouring bugs, we would probably be finished. More importantly, even in ancient times, there weren't so many gold-devouring bugs. At most there were 5 or 6. I've never heard of so many gold-devouring bugs. This ancient tomb was too strange. First, there were flower protectors. Now, there were bugs similar to the gold-devouring bugs. What kind of saint's tomb was this? It was too terrifying. Xing Tian's expression was grave. Lin Xian took a deep breath. I saw Peacock and the others. Let's meet up first. Okay. Elder Li and the others walked forward. On the other side, the battle in the first cave was getting more and more intense. There were only 2 flower protectors left, so no one wanted to give up. The battle between Yi Wudao and Zhong Zhou's twin kings was terrifying. Both of them were peerless geniuses. Their methods were extremely terrifying. At this moment, the battle was difficult to distinguish. The surrounding people were shocked when they saw this scene. Heavens, Yi Wudao was too terrifying. It was obvious that he was fighting 1 against 2, but he wasn't at a disadvantage. Of course, the power of a saint physique had been passed down since ancient times. Yi Wudao's future achievements were limitless. Once he matured into a greater success saint physique, he would be comparable to a great emperor. The Yi family was too lucky. They wouldn't have to worry about the next 10,000 years. With a greater success saint physique and an extreme weapon, unless a true great emperor appeared, no one would be able to compete with them. It was too early to say that. Let's wait until Yi Wudao really matured. Someone sneered secretly. Hearing this, many people's scalps went numb. Did he want to die? How could he say such words? Was he not afraid of being killed by the Yi family? Sure enough, hearing such words, the Yi family's elders snorted coldly. Their eyes were like lightning sweeping across the surroundings. A terrifying aura surged out from their bodies. Many people were so frightened that their faces turned pale. Not to mention Yi Wudao, the twin kings were also terrifying. They would definitely be supreme existences in the future. From the looks of it, there was no doubt that they would become invincible kings. They might even become saints. Many people were discussing. On the other side, the Alcades battle was also very terrifying. The 5 Elements Saint and the 10,000 Thunder Saint couldn't do anything to him. It was unbelievable. The Alcade Saint was too terrifying and unfathomable. It was said that no one could make him use his full strength. Chapter 24:30. Sure enough, the 5 Elements Saint and the 10,000 Thunder Saint could not do anything. They were so angry that they had to use the power behind their backs. However, the wavering light sacred land was not weak either. Several elders joined the battle and fought. Suddenly, an angry roar came from afar. It was like a dragon's roar that shook the 9 heavens. Hearing that sound, the expressions of those who were fighting changed. Not good, there might be a change ahead. Stop fighting, Wu Dao. Hurry up. Got it. Yi Wu Dao nodded and waved his fists. His golden fists forced the middle ground twin kings back. You're not bad. You're my opponent. We'll fight again next time. Yi Wu Dao said in a deep voice. You want to leave? Not so fast. Go to hell. The twin kings roared. No one had been able to fight him to a draw, so he was very unwilling. However, Yi Wu Dao would not fight him again. Several elders of the Yi family stepped forward and forced the twin kings back. At the same time, they used all their strength to seal the flower protector above. In the end, the Yi family obtained the flower protector. Damn it. The middle ground twin kings roared angrily. He had no choice. The Yi family was too powerful. He turned around to snatch the last flower protector. However, as soon as he flew into the air, he roared angrily. That was because the wavering light sacred land had obtained the last flower protector. The wavering light saint suppressed the 5 Elements Saint and the 10,000 Thunder Saint. He directly used his wavering light divine ability and cooperated with their elders to seal the 3rd flower protector. Let's go. After that, the wavering light saint quickly left with his people. Behind them, the middle ground twin kings, the 5 Elements Saint, and the 10,000 Thunder Saint were furious. They followed closely behind. At that moment, the dragon's roar came from the front again, causing everyone's expressions to change. Damn it, what was going on in front? Could there be a shocking treasure? Thinking of that, their eyes burned with passion and they sped up. In front of them, the people of the Yi family and the wavering light sacred land were also flying quickly. However, when they arrived, they were stunned. The situation was completely different from what they had imagined. There was no treasure, and the sky was filled with insects crawling toward them. Bang, 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 bang. Yi Wu Dao threw a punch, and a golden fist illuminated the surroundings, sending a group of insects flying. However, he frowned. Not dead? How could this be? The Yi family elders couldn't believe it. Leaf Dao Denier had a saint body, and his battle prowess was unparalleled. He could shatter earth-tier treasures with his bare hands. But now he couldn't even destroy these bugs? It was simply too shocking. On the other side, the people from the wavering light holy land were also attacked. A holy light ball was formed in front of the Alcade Saint, and the terrifying light rushed in all directions. The insects were sent flying, but they didn't shatter. This scene also made the people of the wavering light holy land frown. Behind them, the people from the 5 Elements sect, the 10,000 Thunder Holy Land, and other experts also rushed over. When they saw this scene, they gasped. When they realized that the insects were extremely tough and could even swallow their weapons, many people screamed. Damn it, it's the gold-devouring beetles. The eyelids of the 5 Elements Saint and the others twitched when they heard about the gold-devouring beetles. They had naturally heard of the gold-devouring beetles' fearsomeness. Right at this time, an elder of the All Beginnings Holy Land coldly snorted. Don't speak nonsense. Those aren't gold-devouring bugs. It really wasn't the gold-devouring beetles. An old granny from the Jade Lake Holy Land also sighed. Yi Wu Dao and the others looked ahead. The people in front of them were radiating light. Among them was a group of people with draconic aura revolving around them, forming a roaring dragon. The terrifying sound from before had come from these people. The Imperial Family. The Imperial Family of the Grand Xia 9 Li Tai dynasty, and the others gathered together. Their draconic aura surged to the heavens, forming the aura of the Tao of Dragons that isolated the insects. Lin Xian and the others also met up with Hui Dao and the others. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come so close to the Jade Lake Holy Land. Qingqing, if those aren't gold-devouring beetles, then what are they? Lin Xian asked. I don't know for the time being. Murong Qingqing shook her head. Big brother Xian, you weren't injured before, right? I'm fine. Lin Xian smiled. He had snatched a good treasure. Hearing this, the elders of the Jade Lake Holy Land frowned. Could it be that this brat had obtained a flower protector? As he spoke, Lin Xian waved the dragon sword domain, expanding it. Not only did it cover the people of the Immortal Palace, but it also covered the cultivators of the Jade Lake Holy Land. It was useless. The domain could be penetrated by them. A beauty from the Jade Lake Holy Land shook her head. They had also tried, so now they were using the Jade Lake's big magic treasure to support it. However, as soon as she finished speaking, she was stunned. Not only her, but many people from the Jade Lake Holy Land were stunned. Heavens, why is nothing happening? Even the elders of the Jade Lake Holy Land were shocked. Previously, they had also used their king domains to block these insects. However, these insects could destroy their king domains. They had no choice but to take out their magic treasures to temporarily block them. These magic treasures were all heaven-grade artifacts. In fact, Murong Qingqing even took out a heaven-grade artifact to block the insects. But now the other party's king domain could block these insects. It was too unbelievable. For a moment, the elders of the Jade Lake Holy Land looked around. They were surprised to find that the sword chi was too sharp. It grew and multiplied endlessly, carrying an aura that could destroy everything. The surrounding black insects couldn't enter at all. What a terrifying sword chi. What kind of cultivation technique was this? They thought for a long time but couldn't figure it out. Boom. On the other side, the Yi family also took action. Yi Wudao opened his golden sacred domain and isolated all the insects. Seeing this scene, many people exclaimed in surprise. Even the holy sons and holy daughters were envious. It was said that the domain of a holy physique was extremely terrifying and unique. It could even restrain other people's domains. Now it seemed that it was indeed extraordinary. Damn insects, get lost for me. The twin kings also roared. Half of the demonic chi and the other half of the golden light formed a terrifying space that blasted all the insects away. In addition, the All Beginnings Holy Land, the Grand Xia dynasty, and the various families of the Great Sage all used their ultimate techniques to isolate these insects. Hurry up and leave. There shouldn't be any treasures here. Many people wanted to leave. Damn it, this is impossible. At this moment, an elder of the Wavering Light Holy Land cried out in alarm, his face full of shock. For a moment, everyone looked over. Even the Wavering Light Holy Son and Holy Daughter Yao Guang were puzzled. Elder, what's wrong? Did you discover something? The Wavering Light Elder was shocked. These aren't insects. If they aren't insects, then what are they? The others frowned. Had the Wavering Light Elder gone crazy? Even the Wavering Light Holy Son and Holy Daughter were puzzled. Chapter 24:31. The Yaoguang elder took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. However, his voice was still trembling. He said in a trembling voice, "These bugs are made of metal." Metal? Hearing that, the crowd was even more confused. Why couldn't they understand? At this moment, a young man from the Great Xia dynasty asked. The metal-devouring bugs did eat metal. Could it be that they had grown into metal? No, you don't understand what I mean. They're not bugs. They're not living creatures. They're puppets. Someone made them look like bugs with metal. What? How could that be? As soon as these words were spoken, everyone finally understood. However, they couldn't believe it. What kind of metal could be so terrifying? Moreover, these bugs were too terrifying. They had at least tens of thousands of years of history. Could they have survived until now? They couldn't imagine what kind of means they had. Elder, are you sure? Even the Yaoguang saint was confused. Saint, have you forgotten about my weapon? The elder sighed and waved his hand. Whoosh. He took out a small black flag. The flag was only the size of a palm, and its proportions were very strange. The flagpole was very long, but the flag was very small. It looked very out of place. However, the aura it emitted made people's hearts tremble. A heaven-grade treasure. Everyone was shocked. That's right. Only a heaven-grade treasure could emit such terrifying power. That's my magic treasure. It's called the Sky Demon Flag. It's made of dark demonic gold and other metals. Dark demonic gold? Is that kind of metal? Many people exclaimed when they heard that. Then they were extremely envious. Many people's eyes even turned red. That was because dark demonic gold was the main material for making heaven-grade treasures. It was very precious and rare. Only the Great Sage Holy Church had it, and there weren't many of them. The treasures made by the elders of the Yaoguang sacred land were all out of place. It must be because there wasn't enough dark night demonic gold, so it was refined into such a strange shape. One could imagine how precious the metal was. However, what did that have to do with the black bugs on the ground? Everyone frowned. The Jade Lake Saint's beautiful eyes flickered. Elder, don't tell me that these bugs are made of dark demonic gold? That's right, that's what I mean. What? How could this be? When these words were spoken, everyone went crazy. Their faces were full of fear and disbelief. Even Lin Xian and the others were extremely shocked. They were well aware of how terrifying and precious a Heaven Step artifact was. Moreover, it was a precious metal like the Dark Night demonic gold. Could be said that there were very few of them. But now, what was the situation? Were the black insects all over the mountain made of Dark Night demonic gold? What a joke. When these bugs gathered together, they almost formed a small mountain. If this was true, wouldn't it mean that there was a small mountain of Dark Night magical gold in front of him? Thinking of this, everyone's eyes turned red, and their faces were filled with madness. They were too excited. This was a peerless treasure. If they could take it back and refine it, just how many Heaven Step treasures could they refine? They dared not imagine. In an instant, many people went crazy. They looked at the black bugs on the ground again. This time it was not fear but excitement. These were all treasures. Elder, are you sure? The Alcade Holy Sun still did not quite believe it, but the elder sighed. It was absolutely true. The people of the Yi family also frowned. No wonder it was so hard. Even the Holy Sun's body could not be broken. That was because it was a Heaven Step material. Who could break a Heaven Step treasure? When those words came out, everyone fell silent. That was right. If that was the case, what had happened before could be explained. Then they screamed. Oh my God, who is that? How could he make so many bugs with Dark Night demonic gold? What a waste. The elders screamed crazily. What a prodigal. Indeed, they did not even have enough materials to make weapons. Now, someone was wasting so much precious metal to make bugs. If that was not a prodigal, then what was? Could it be the work of that sage? They thought about it and found that only the owner of the ancient tomb, who was a sage from tens of thousands of years ago, could do that. The others were not worthy of his attention at all. I really want to know who that sage is. Many people were puzzled. However, many elders were even more shocked by the crafting technique. That technique was too heaven-defying. It had existed for tens of thousands of years. If they could get that technique and make other puppets in the city, wouldn't that be heaven-defying? However, most people did not think about that at all. Their eyes were bloodshot as they stared at the bugs on the ground. Grab it! Someone shouted, and those people immediately started to grab it frantically. For a moment, many people started to fight for it again. The intensity of the fight was no less than that of the Earth Spirit liquid. Temple Master, what should we do? The eyes of Elder Li and the others also flickered. They were also very tempted by the Dark Night demonic gold. Lin Xian took a deep breath. Don't be anxious. Let's wait and see first. There are so many bugs here anyway. Besides, I have a feeling that things are not that simple. Not only did they not move, but the people of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground also did not move. In the distance, the warriors of the Yi family were also discussing. The others were fighting fiercely. While they were frantically fighting for the Dark Night demonic gold, another group of people walked into the first cave. Those people were Yen Ryu's people. At this moment they also arrived at the cave. When they saw the corpses and blood on the ground, they frowned. Humph! Those humans are really greedy. A war broke out so soon? The warriors of the Monster King Palace sneered. However, an elder frowned. Don't be careless. Those humans are smart. They won't fight without treasures. Look around and see what's around. As soon as he said that, they started to look around. Because at this moment there was no one around. This is Earth Spirit Liquid. A warrior of the Monster King Palace exclaimed. Damn it, they've all taken it. Those people of the Monster King Palace gritted their teeth. The Earth Spirit Liquid that had existed for tens of thousands of years was definitely a treasure. No wonder those human warriors were fighting for it. The Earth Spirit Liquid dripped from above. Let's see if there's any above. A few people grew wings on their backs and flew up. Soon they broke off all the rocks above. Because there was some Earth Spirit Liquid on them, they would not let it go. Some people even dug out the puddles on the ground and carefully collected them. Yen Ryu did not care about those at all. She looked around and narrowed her eyes. The man in a green robe and Huatiandu also looked around. Chapter 2432. The remaining aura in the air was too powerful. At the very least, a top-notch Sky Pride had made a move. Something like the Earth Spirit Liquid probably wouldn't cause these top-notch Sky Prides to make a move. There should be something else. Bayu. Huatiandu shouted in a deep voice. Here. A young man in a white robe walked out from behind him. His white hair fluttered in the wind and he was very handsome. He came to the front and quickly formed a seal with his palms. At the same time, his eyes also changed incomparably. His black pupils disappeared, and his entire eyeballs turned pale as if they were in chaos. Seeing this scene, the others waited silently. After a while, Bayu's white eyes disappeared, and he returned to normal. He took a deep breath, waved his hand and described what he saw. The spiritual energy in the sky condensed and formed images. This was what happened before. This was the Yi family's sacred body, right? He actually made a move. What exactly was that? When the crowd saw the golden light shoot into the sky, they were all shocked. Everyone knew about the Yi family's sacred body. Everyone knew the potential and terror of a sacred body. They had to pay attention. This was the Alcade Saint, right? He was indeed powerful. His strength was probably not below a sacred body. Several elders looked at the figure surrounded by 108 gods and Buddhas with solemn expressions. Who was this kid? He was so terrifying. He could actually suppress the 5 elements saint and the 1,000 thunder saint? Many people looked at the red-robed young man and frowned. One of the elders said, "There seems to be something wrong with the 2 swords in his hands. He's not a saint of the sacred ground. I don't know him." Huachindu looked at the figure and shook his head slightly. Yen Ryu's lips curled into a beautiful smile. However, when she shifted her gaze and looked up, her pupils shrank. This was? She pointed forward, puzzled. Everyone's gaze also shifted away from the saints and looked up. They realized that there were 3 butterflies. There were bronze bells tied to their bodies in an octagonal shape with mysterious and strange runes engraved on them. What was that? Huachindu also frowned. An elder of the Demon King Palace exclaimed, "Flower Protector." Damn it, it was Flower Protector. Are you talking about the legendary weapon Flower Protector? Why would she appear here? Huachindu was shocked. Even Yen Ryu was surprised. The others were also discussing spiritedly. Naturally, they had heard of the legend of Flower Protector. Wasn't this a weapon refined by a peerless devil of the human race? Why would it appear in our demon sage's tomb? Could it be that our demon saint obtained it? They could not understand. Even a weapon like the Flower Protector had appeared. It seemed that this place was more complicated than we had imagined. An elder frowned. Another person asked, could they deduce which demonic saint it was? Yen Ryu and the others shook their heads. They could not tell yet. Everyone looked around again. Then Huatiandu said, let's go and take a look. It seems like this ancient tomb is more interesting than we thought. Looks like I can't fall too far behind. Otherwise all the good stuff will be snatched away by those people. The other elders nodded their heads as well, and the group of them prepared to move forward. However, at this time Yen Ryu suddenly frowned. The next moment she turned her head. What's wrong? What happened? Huatindu was puzzled. The others also turned their heads wanting to ask. However, at this moment, a crisp sound came from above. Everyone felt dizzy as if they had felt a strong impact. Many young warriors screamed. The elders of the Demon Imperial Palace all shouted angrily. Damn it, who is it? Yen Ryu's gaze was like a divine rainbow, streaking across the void. Flower Protector, there was another Flower Protector here. There was actually another one. The others were shocked, but Huatindu was wild with joy. Great, we must get it. With an order, the elders all attacked. However, in the next moment they were pushed back by a strong energy. The blood in these elders' bodies was boiling, and their faces were full of shock. What a terrifying Flower Protector. Why did it feel like the power of the last one was much stronger than the previous ones? Indeed, when they looked at the light screen they found that although the Flower Protector was strong, it was not too difficult for those people to take it. However, when it came to them, why was it so terrifying? So many elders attacked together, but they were all pushed back. It was unbelievable. You didn't know. Perhaps the 3 Flower Protectors from before had been sealed. Perhaps the seal of this one was weaker, so the power it displayed was greater. Yen Ryu's eyes flickered. Of course, this was all speculation. Clang, clang. Just as they were discussing, a butterfly flew out from the cave above. There was a bronze bell tied to its body, and it made a clanging sound in the air. Every time it vibrated, a sound wave would sweep in all directions. The space was shattering all day long, as if there was a giant hammer smashing into the void. Quick, defend. All of you retreat. The elders shouted angrily. They unleashed countless defensive spells in front of them to block the attack. Huachindu roared, and a terrifying aura was emitted from his body. A layer of purple scales even appeared on his body. In the next moment he stretched out a large purple hand and grabbed at the void. This large purple hand was very terrifying, and there were also rare scales on it. It carried a shocking power and directly enveloped Flower Protector. Boom boom boom. Flower Protector quickly attacked, and light waves blasted on the large purple hand. The strong wind was mighty, and the terrifying power made it hard for people to breathe. Damn it. In the end, Wuxia could not hold on and retracted the large purple hand. His face was extremely gloomy. He snorted coldly and wanted to use his trump card. However, at this moment Yenryu made her move. She stretched out her slender hand and slapped forward. This palm was extremely white as if it was carved out of immortal jade and appeared in the sky. Around his palm 9 mysterious runes appeared, exuding an unfathomable power. Yenryu chuckled and the 9 runes rotated, completely enveloping Flower Protector. Flower Protector trembled and a terrifying light tore through the void, shattering the surrounding space. In the sky, the 9 mysterious runes dimmed, and it seemed like they were about to shatter. Seeing this, Yenryu snorted coldly, and spat out a green light from her mouth, which instantly shot into the sky. This light was too fast and no one could see what it was. It was like a divine rainbow, and it directly pressed on Flower Protector, causing Flower Protector to stop trembling immediately. Whoosh. The 9 runes flickered and entered Flower Protector, completely sealing it. Whoosh. The green light turned and returned to Yenryu's body. The whole process was very fast and the surrounding people did not even know what it was. However, in the next moment their eyes widened. Chapter 24:33. Yenryu gently waved her hand, and Flower Protector floated over and landed in her hand. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly and she shook it gently. The tinkling sounds were heard, carrying a terrifying feeling. However, at this moment, it had already been sealed and could not hurt anyone. The elders of the Demon Imperial Palace were all stunned. Those young martial artists also had faces full of shock. Wuxia narrowed his eyes and laughed loudly. Ryu, good move. Yenryu smiled and took out a red rope from her storage ring. She tied Flower Protector and hung it on her waist. Let's go. After subduing Flower Protector, Yenryu was in a good mood, so she walked forward with graceful steps. Behind her, the people of the Demon Imperial Palace quickly followed. They set off forward. On the other side, in the cave ahead, everyone had their eyes on the black bugs. Because they now knew that the black bugs were made of heaven-grade treasures, dark night demonic gold. It was an incomparably precious metal. Therefore, for a moment these people attacked crazily. But soon they regretted it. Because they realized that these bugs could not be subdued at all. Ordinary earth-grade treasures could not cause any damage to them. At most, they would be sent flying. However, the worms waddled back. Collect. An elder of the Illusion Palace roared angrily. He threw out a purple gourd and collected the bugs around him. The purple gourd flickered and instantly collected dozens of black bugs. Ha! Seeing this scene, the elder was very happy. He waved his hand and took back the purple gourd. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. He shook the gourd, wanting to continue collecting. Crack crack crack. Suddenly, the gourd in his hand made a cracking sound. Then the entire gourd split into 2. The dozens of black bugs crawled out again. Damn it! How could this be? The elder of the Illusion Palace was so angry that he went crazy. He fiercely bombarded the black bugs. However, his hands were numb. These bugs could not be harmed at all because they were not living creatures at all. They were puppets. They could not feel anything, let alone feel pain. Watch me. An elder of the 5 Elements Palace waved his hand, and a 5-colored net fell from the sky, instantly trapping dozens of black bugs. This was the 5 Elements net. It was formed from the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. It had been refined by the elders of the 5 Elements Palace for hundreds of years. Could be said that it was extremely terrifying. In an instant he also caught dozens of black bugs and took them back. The 5 Elements net released light, releasing the power of the 5 elements, wrapping around these black bugs, wanting to seal them. As long as he could bring it back to the 5 Elements Palace, he would be able to refine it into dark night demonic gold. Then he would be able to create a new heaven-tier treasure. Thinking of this, the people from the 5 Elements Palace all laughed. Not long after they laughed, they were also stunned. This was because cracks had appeared on the 5 Elements net. Dozens of black bugs had bitten through the 5 Elements net and escaped again. Damn it! It could even bite through the power of the 5 elements? The elders of the 5 Elements Palace widened their eyes in disbelief. The others also sucked in a breath of cold air. It seemed that this black bug was really not easy to seal. Was there really no other way? Just as everyone was discussing and trying all kinds of methods, one side suddenly trembled. Then a black shadow walked out in front of them. The black shadow was not tall. It was only about 1 meter tall, but it was unusually heavy. Every step it took made the ground tremble. What was that? Could it be that another monster had appeared? Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked forward. What? They were extremely shocked, and many people's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They saw a terrifying thing walking out in front of them. It was extremely black like a tortoise, but it walked upright. There was a black tortoise shell on its back which was full of needles. There was also a black tail behind it which was also full of black needles. What was that? A tortoise? Everyone was surprised. No, look at its head. Why did it look like a flood dragon? A dragon tortoise. Everyone was talking about it. At that moment the elders exclaimed in surprise. Heavens, is that guy also made of dark night demonic gold? Thinking of that, everyone swallowed hard. The amount of dark night demonic gold that the black dragon tortoise contained was comparable to all the other insects. For a moment, many people looked at it with bloodshot eyes. What was the point of snatching so many insects? They would be rich if they could just snatch the black dragon tortoise away. They did as they thought. Among them, many elders from the sacred grounds and major sects quickly made their moves. One after another, terrifying attacks were launched forward. In an instant they landed on the black dragon tortoise. Boom, boom, boom. It was forced to retreat. When the light that filled the sky disappeared, everyone was dumbfounded. That was because there was no injury on the black dragon tortoise's body. In fact, there was not even a crack on it. Brr. The black dragon tortoise roared angrily, and a trace of red light appeared in its eyes. Oh no, it's going to counterattack. Everyone was shocked. As expected, following the roar, a dangerous aura emanated from the dragon tortoise's body. Not only that, the surrounding black insects also began to move. They quickly attacked in all directions. For a moment, everyone screamed in pain and kept retreating. Buzz, boom. The elder of the 5 Elements Palace screamed in pain and was sent flying. He crashed into the wall and vomited blood. Even the void was smashed into pieces. Damn it, what happened? The people of the 5 Elements Palace exclaimed, and the others also looked gloomy. They only saw a black shadow flash and the elder of the 5 Elements Palace was sent flying. Boom. At that moment, the elder of the Illusion Palace also screamed in pain and was sent flying. God knows how many bones in his body were broken. Damn it, it's that dragon tortoise. It attacked. This time, everyone finally saw it clearly. The black dragon tortoise leaped high into the air and spun in the air like a spinning top before charging over. This collision contained boundless power. Moreover, there were many black thorns on the dragon tortoise's body, which multiplied the power of the collision. Watch me. The 4-symbol saint roared angrily, and his body emitted an incomparable light that made the entire world tremble. What terrifying power! Everyone was shocked. The 4-symbol saint was too terrifying. For a moment they all retreated, but their eyes were fixed on the front. Boom. The 4-symbol saint reached out a palm and grabbed in front of him. Boom. 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 The black dragon tortoise resisted and broke free from the 4-symbol saint's palm. It then turned into a black ray of light and charged over. The speed was too fast. Everyone could only see a shadow and feel the surging power. In the next moment, the sound of an intense collision was heard. The black dragon tortoise and the 4-symbol saint collided more than 10 times. Chapter 24:34. He wasn't injured, but his arms were numb and his body was trembling, causing his face to turn pale. The dragon turtle, on the other hand, was unharmed. What? Even the 4 sacred beasts couldn't do anything to it? The surrounding people were shocked. The 4 sacred beasts' power was extremely terrifying. Probably not many people could suppress him. If there was one, it would be the sacred physique. Moreover, no one knew if the sacred physique could completely suppress the 4 sacred beasts. After all, no one had seen them fight. However, even if they could suppress him, it would be very difficult. But now, the dragon turtle could actually force the 4 sacred beasts to retreat. Didn't that mean that the dragon turtle's power was not inferior to the sacred physique, or even stronger? Heavens! Thinking of this, everyone felt dizzy. How were they going to subdue it? Moreover, the surrounding insects became extremely powerful under the dragon turtle's command. They attacked together, biting their armor until it shattered and the protective light dimmed. Soon they couldn't hold on any longer. The seats were up to their own luck. At that moment the Yi family elder spoke. Bus. 2 Yi family elders stood beside Yi Wudao. Yi Wudao opened his golden sacred domain and instantly enveloped dozens of insects. Boom, boom, boom. The 2 elders sealed the insects, then took out 2 gourds and stored them inside. Let's go. Yi Wudao waved his hand, and the Yi family members quickly soared into the sky and flew deeper. They stopped fighting. Seeing this scene, everyone imitated them. It was impossible to bring the dragon turtle with them. It seemed that they could only bring some insects. Moreover, whether they could bring them away was still a problem. However, they couldn't care less. They probably only had one chance to attack. Therefore they all attacked and began to fight for the black insects. Soon there were fewer and fewer insects on the ground. Most of them had been taken away. However, it was not much use. Some people had just flown halfway when the black insects they sealed broke out of their bodies. Seeing this scene, the cultivators' faces turned ugly, but they had no choice but to give up. It seemed that they probably wouldn't be able to get the black insects. Only a few powerful sacred grounds could take the black insects away in one piece. Brother Xian, I'm going to attack too. Murong Qingqing said from the side. Whoosh. She waved her hand, and a lotus vase rushed out of her body and spun in front of her. Countless rays of light engulfed dozens of bugs. Then the lotus vase fell into Murong Qingqing's hands. Seeing this, a smile appeared on Mu Rong's beautiful face. Lotus vase. This was a treasure of the Jade Lake sacred ground. It was rumored that it could purify everything. Who would have thought that he would bring it along this time? The surrounding people recognized the Lotus Aquarius and were envious. That's right, the Yi clan has the golden holy body, and the Jade Lake has the Lotus treasure vase. I wonder what the others are like. Heaven and earth trembled, causing the blood and chi in everyone's body to surge, and they almost fell to the ground. In the next moment they all turned their heads to look. Then he was scared out of his wits. A small cauldron flew out of the Alcade Saint's body and floated in the air. The cauldron was black and had an ancient aura. It was surrounded by decorative patterns that looked like 2 giant dragons swimming around. Dragon pattern tripod. Some people's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. What? Dragon pattern cauldron? Are you sure you're not mistaken? Many people cried out in alarm, their scalps going numb. Lin Xian frowned and asked, what is a dragon pattern cauldron? The Yaoguang Holy Land's supreme weapon. What? A supreme weapon? Lin Xian's eyes widened. He knew what it meant. It meant that it was a weapon of the arch. It was absolutely terrifying. Could it be that the Yaoguang Holy Land had brought a supreme weapon? No, that was impossible. They couldn't have brought a supreme weapon. Elder Li and the others shook their heads. Soon, someone shook his head in the distance. It was not a dragon pattern cauldron. It was a replica. Hearing that it was not a supreme weapon, the dragon pattern cauldron, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. However, they were still extremely shocked. Even if it was a replica, it was still a replica of a supreme weapon. It definitely surpassed an Earth-grade treasure. It was very likely that it had reached the level of a heaven-grade treasure. Moreover, such replicas usually had 1 or 2 very powerful ultimate moves. More importantly, those ultimate moves were related to supreme weapons. Therefore they did not dare to be careless. For a moment, all the sacred grounds and sects were on guard. Even those from the royal family had solemn expressions. Fortunately, the Alcade Saint had no intention of attacking those people. He shouted coldly and activated the replica dragon pattern cauldron to envelop the area in front of him. In an instant he had also captured dozens of insects. In the next moment he put away the replica dragon pattern cauldron and said coldly, let's go. Qingqing, you guys go first. Seeing more and more people leaving, Lin Xian said to Murong Qingqing, who was standing right next to him. Murong Qingqing nodded and left with the elders of the Jade Lake sacred ground. Young master, let's do it too. Xingtian asked. Lin Xian nodded. Then Elder Li and the other 2 started to attack. They took out a pagoda and sealed dozens of insects. Buzz. Bang. At that moment, a muffled groan came from afar. A few black-robed martial artists spat out mouthfuls of blood. Their faces were extremely pale. The flutes in their hands also fell to the ground. Damn it, I can't control them. What's going on? These people were extremely shocked. One of the elders gritted his teeth. These insects contained the will of a saint. Even if they took them away, they would not feel comfortable. Let's go quickly. These people picked up the flutes, wiped away the blood and quickly left. They did not capture any more insects. When the others heard this, they were extremely shocked. Contain the will of a saint? Is this true? If this was true, then even if they took them away, it would be difficult to subdue them. They might even be counterattacked. For a moment, these people were bewildered. However, after looking for a long time, they did not see any will of a saint. Therefore, these people still chose to attack. Who are those black-robed men? Lin Xian asked in a deep voice. Elder Li, who had already collected a few dozen worms, said quickly as he glanced at the few black figures. They should be from Nanling. Which family wouldn't know? But judging from their appearance, they should be beast tamers. Previously, they wanted to tame these insects through beast taming. They must have been counterattacked. Beast taming? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Aren't they puppets? Can they be tamed? They should be able to. They are indeed puppets. Speaking of which, if they are used properly, taming them is much easier than taming beasts. After all, they have no thoughts and only know how to attack and submit. How do you tame them? Do you use soul power? Lin Xian asked. Elder Li explained. Yes, but it seems that this method will not work. Those people must be from Nanling. They are very powerful beast tamer families. Even they failed. Chapter 24:35. I'm guessing that these bugs were created by the sage and were infused with the sage's will. If that's the case, none of us here can tame them. It's been tens of thousands of years. Is the sage's will still so strong? Lin Xian was puzzled. It had indeed weakened, but it wasn't something that an ordinary person could tame. To tame them, one would need to be at least an invincible king-level soul. Moreover, it was only a possibility. Unless what? Seeing that Elder Li didn't say anything, Lin Xian continued to ask. Elder Li sighed. Only someone with a heaven-defying eye technique would be able to do so. Bloodline eye technique? Hearing this, the corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up. Wasn't he talking about the heavenly secret divine eyes? Although he didn't know how many terrifying bloodline eye techniques there were in this world, there was no doubt that the heavenly secret divine eyes was definitely a mysterious and terrifying one. Let's give it a try. Lin Xian thought. If his heavenly secret divine eyes could really tame these bugs, then it would be much safer and more delicious. It would be much more reliable than searching for these bugs directly. After all, no one knew if there would be any mistakes during the sealing process. If he could tame them, then it would be different. Thinking of this, a trace of golden light appeared in his eyes. Buzz. Soon he stared at a black bug nearby. The golden light swept past. However, in the next moment, Lin Xian frowned and his pupils constricted. This was because he felt that the black bug was emitting an extremely terrifying aura that was rushing towards him. This gave him a fright, but he activated his heavenly secret divine eyes and burned the attack. Young master, are you trying to tame these bugs? The people around also felt a chill down their spines. Because they all felt that terrifying aura just now, as if they were being stared at by the Grim Reaper. Could this be the sage's will? Xing Tian was shocked. Although it was very faint, it wasn't something that they could fight against. The dark red divine dragon was also scared. Kid, are you reliable? If you're not, then hurry up and leave. He had lived for thousands of years and knew how terrifying the sage was. There probably wasn't another person as bold as Lin Xian who dared to challenge the sage's will. Was this the sage's will? He wasn't that strong. Of course, Lin Xian knew that after tens of thousands of years, the sage's will had been weakened. Moreover, the saint's will contained in these insects might be relatively rare. After all, in the eyes of the sages, these bugs were probably just toys. It wouldn't take too much effort. However, this just so happened to benefit Lin Xian. Thinking of this, Lin Xian smiled and said, Xing Tian, Elder Li, protect me. Hearing those words, the eyelids of Xing Tian, Elder Li, and the others twitched. Hui Dao, Ghostly, and the others were also shocked. It can't be. Does the palace master really want to tame these insects? They were all stunned. They couldn't believe it. The dark red divine dragon asked from the side. Kid, are you confident? Didn't you see that the beast tamers from Nanling were injured? If you get injured, it won't be a joke. That's right, Palace Master, we've already sealed quite a few black bugs, it's about time. Elder Li and the others also advised. Don't worry, I'm confident. Lin Xian smiled. He was indeed confident. The impact that he suffered previously was probably a trace of the saint's will. He realized that the saint's will had weakened to the point that he could resist it. Therefore, Lin Xian decided to give it a try. Moreover, even if there was really danger, he had the saint's bone in his hand, which should be able to resist the saint's will. Seeing Lin Xian's insistence, Xing Tian, Elder Li, and the others had no choice but to take a deep breath and secretly prepare to attack. This was because they didn't think that Lin Xian could succeed. Lin Xian ignored them. Golden light bloomed in his eyes and instantly shrouded a black bug. Boom. Sure enough, in the next moment, the Saints Will rushed out. However, it was already weakened, so Lin Xian used the Soul Ignition secret technique to resist it. Not only that, he also burned the weakened Saint's will. God's guidance. In Lin Xian's eyes, the golden light formed mysterious runes that rushed out and imprinted on the black bug's body. This was also a divine ability formed by the heavenly secret divine eyes. It was used to control the other party's soul and turn them into a puppet. Sure enough, as soon as God's guidance was used, the black bug stopped struggling and became very docile. Lin Xian waved his hand, and the black bug flew over and crawled on his hand. Success. Seeing this scene, a smile appeared on his face in his sleep. What? Behind him, Xing Tian, Elder Li, and the others looked at this scene with their eyes wide open in disbelief. Hu Yidao and the others were even more shocked. What kind of technique was this? It could actually destroy the Saint's will. Although it was a weakened Saint's will, no one below the Invincible King level could destroy it. Even Invincible Kings wouldn't dare to have such confidence. After all, Saints were extremely terrifying existences that transcended heaven and earth. But now their palace master had actually managed to accomplish it. This was simply too inconceivable. Thinking of this, they were extremely excited. Even Elder Li, Xing Tian, and the others' eyes were shining. The dark red dragon was even more excited. Great, if we can control these bugs, no one will be our match. At that time, we'll kill all who stand in our way. Let's see if they still dare to be rude to us. Indeed, the dark red dragon was right. These bugs were equivalent to a small heaven-grade artifact. When combined, they would definitely be a terrifying killing machine. Its power wouldn't be weaker than the flower protector. Moreover, they couldn't use the flower protector now, but as long as they controlled the bugs, they could use them immediately. It's not that easy. Lin Xian shook his head. Although the Saint's will was weakened, it wasn't that easy to erase it. It would consume a lot of my soul power, and I would have to imprint my will, which would consume even more. It's impossible to take away all of it. It would probably be enough to get a few dozen of them. Kid, you can first erase the Saint's will and get it first. Then you can slowly plant your own will. This way you should be able to get more. The dark red divine dragon suggested from the side. Lin Xian nodded. He also planned to do so. Therefore, next, Xing Tian and the others guarded closely while Lin Xian began to erase the Saint's will of those black bugs. When he erased the 100th one, Lin Xian felt dizzy. He knew that he had reached his limit. No. He could use the heavenly secret divine eyes again, so he decisively gave up. This was already very good, and it was heaven-defying. Those sacred grounds and royal families could only capture a few dozen at most, but Lin Xian directly got 100. Chapter 2436. Moreover, the others were still in danger. Because no one knew when the Sage's will would erupt. However, the 100 people that Lin Xian captured had their Sage's will completely erased, so they were absolutely safe. However, Xing Tian, Elder Li, and the others were a little worried. Because they realized that Lin Xian's face was too pale. Lin Xian shook his head. Was fine. It was not a big deal that his soul had been exhausted. He would be fine after he recovered. As he spoke, he took out recovery pills and natural treasures. He even dripped 3 drops of earth spirit liquid. Let's go, Xing Tian said. Then the group of people protected Lin Xian and quickly left. However, just as they moved, the void fluctuated, and a fierce murderous aura rushed toward them. In the sky, a cold light flew directly toward Lin Xian's head. Damn it! Who was it? How dare you sneak attack me? The dark red dragon roared. Xing Tian shouted coldly and threw a punch. Boom. With a single punch, the rainbow-like ray of light exploded. Whoosh. A violent wind blew between heaven and earth, and the terrifying space shook the surroundings. Everyone was shocked and quickly distanced themselves. However, the people of Immortal Palace had gloomy expressions. Someone dared to sneak attack their palace master at this time. Did they want to die? Lin Xian also frowned, and a cold murderous intent appeared in his eyes. He had just exhausted his soul and the other party attacked. It was obvious that the other party had been secretly observing him, waiting for an opportunity. Who was it? He looked around. Soon he saw the front. It was the people of Tai dynasty. His face darkened. Needless to say, it was definitely the first prince's people. Damn it, the first prince was too despicable. He had tried to kill him time and time again. Last time he killed General Xianying, but these people did not know how to restrain themselves. It seemed that it was time to get rid of the first prince's people. Xing Tian, elderly, and the others also noticed the other party, and immediately cold murderous intent bloomed in their eyes. Hu Yidao, ghostly, and the others were even more murderous. Someone dared to attack their palace master, and it was a sneak attack. This was unforgivable. Not good. This was the famous Longbow king of Tai dynasty. His archery skills were unparalleled in the world. He was especially good at long-range attacks. We must be careful. Elder Wang reminded from the side. When the others heard this, their faces also turned cold. Indeed, the murderous aura of that arrow was too shocking. Furthermore, he appeared and disappeared mysteriously, making it hard to guard against him. If it weren't for the fact that they had so many experts on their side with Lin Xian's current state, he might really be in danger. The Longbow King was a young man about 17 or 18 years old. However, everyone knew that this was definitely an old monster that had lived for over 1,000 years. His strength was incomparably terrifying. He was a true peerless almighty. Longbow King, what is the meaning of this? Elder Wang shouted coldly. You dare to go against us? Don't you want to live anymore? When the Longbow King heard this, a cold smile appeared on his handsome face. That brat killed General Xianing. I am here on the orders of Empress Tai to take his life. Do you think you can protect them? Even if you manage to escape this time with Empress Tai's strength and foundation, can you escape the next time and the time after that? So, just surrender obediently and I can give him a quick death. Courting death. Empress Tai? Even the Emperor of Tai dynasty dares not to be rude to us. How dare you ambush us? Xing Tian also shouted coldly. You reckless thing. Who do you think you are? The Longbow King sneered. He attacked again. Bus, bus, bus. Arrows flew out one after another, and the arrow chi was like rainbows that tore through the void, quickly charging towards Lin Xian. The terrifying murderous aura made people's faces turn pale and their bodies tremble. The surroundings were dark and colorless, and only the 3 terrifying arrows shone in all directions. You are courting death. Xing Tian was furious. He took a step forward and his body was like a fiend god. Xing Tian, block him. We will take the palace master away first. Elder Li said quickly. Xing Tian nodded his head. After which, Elder Li and the others brought Lin Xian along and flew forward. You want to leave? Longbow King sneered when he saw this. He shot out another 3 arrows. They appeared and disappeared mysteriously and charged towards Lin Xian. In the blink of an eye they appeared around Lin Xian. However, they were all shattered by Elder Li, Elder Wang, Elder Lu and Elder Zhang. Soon Lin Xian and the others disappeared. Longbow King shouted coldly and wanted to chase after them. At this moment Xing Tian also made his move. In the face of the 3 terrifying arrows, he roared and slapped out his palm. It was like a huge hand that covered the sky, shattering the space in front of him and forming a terrifying black hole. The 3 arrows that shone with divine light were all swallowed by the black hole. How dare you attack the young master? You are dead meat today. Xing Tian's voice was cold. It seemed that he was really angry. He was sent by the old palace master to protect Lin Xian. He didn't expect that someone would dare to attack Lin Xian. Moreover, it was an elder who had lived for thousands of years. He couldn't stand it. Therefore he had to make a move. Longbow King's face darkened when he saw that the other party had shattered his attack. When he saw that Lin Xian and the others had disappeared, his killing intent soared. How dare you block my path? Fine, I'll kill you and then kill that kid. Longbow King was also very angry, so he didn't show any mercy. Today I'll let you see my ultimate move, the 7th God archery technique. At this point he shouted and the power in his body suddenly erupted. A bright light shone in all directions. At this moment he was like an immortal, making people unable to open their eyes. Bus. A red bow appeared in his hand. As soon as it appeared, it swept in all directions with a terrifying light. The bow was like a flood dragon, coiling in the void and being held by Longbow King. Buzz buzz buzz. The killing intent on their bodies erupted again, shattering the entire space. At this moment, the remaining people in the surroundings quickly retreated with fear on their faces. What a terrifying killing intent. They quickly distanced themselves. At the same time, the armor on their bodies rose up to protect their bodies. Buzz. An arrow flew out, tearing through the void and returning to the front with a long ray of light. Seeing the other party's arrow, Xing Tian's expression turned solemn. He knew that the other party was a powerful opponent, so he had to fight with his full strength. But soon, his expression became even more solemn because after the first arrow, the second arrow flew over. This arrow was filled with a murderous aura and a monstrous sea of blood. Before it arrived, the murderous aura made his body tremble. 2 arrows, one sharp and the other murderous, one in front and one behind, formed a mysterious combination that was enough to destroy everything. Subheaven grade artifact. 7th God archery technique. Many of the elders in the surroundings exclaimed. They naturally recognized Longbow King, but they didn't expect him to use such a terrifying killing move. It's over, that guy is dead for sure. Chapter 2437. That's for sure. That kid must be from Immortal Palace. The people from Immortal Palace are really arrogant. They've provoked so many factions, and now they want to go against the peerless powerhouse of Tai Dynasty. I really don't know what they're thinking. The spectators sneered again and again. They didn't know Xing Tian, so they didn't think that Xing Tian could resist them. Xing Tian looked at the 2 peerless killing intents and shouted coldly. He threw out a punch. Boom. The space in front of him shattered and a pitch-black hole appeared. It spread in all directions and formed a half-moon shape. The half-moon-shaped black hole was like a giant beast in the abyss. It was incomparably dark and emitted a terrifying aura. Whoosh. It abruptly opened its mouth and swallowed the 2 mysterious lights. It's useless. You can't swallow my 7 gods archery technique. On the other side, Longbow King sneered. The surrounding people's eyes flickered. They didn't think much of it. However, they were soon stunned. Because the 2 7 gods arrows didn't appear again. Damn it. How is that possible? Longbow King was also stunned. His 7 gods archery technique could pierce through the void without a problem. Therefore, he wasn't afraid of the black hole. But why didn't it appear this time? It doesn't seem to be an ordinary black hole. An elder from Grand Xia Dynasty frowned. It seems to be connected to a universe. Look, there are stars flickering inside. Are you saying that the black hole lured the 2 arrows into the universe? It seems to be the case. The surrounding powerhouses discussed animatedly. Spatial divine ability? Isn't that the Gu family's divine ability? What's the relationship between this person and the Gu family? They were surprised. However, some people shook their heads. Not only the Gu family had spatial divine ability. The Gu family had the Void Emperor and passed down the Void technique, so their spatial divine ability was very famous. However, other powerhouses might also have spatial divine ability, but there were fewer of them. If the person in front of them wasn't a space-type king, then he might have a space-type divine ability. They guessed right. Xing Tian had indeed mastered a space-type fist technique called Sky Shattering. One punch could shatter the void and connect to the mysterious universe. It could devour and exile everything. The previous punch was the Sky Shattering fist. Spatial divine ability. So that's how it is. But do you think you can fight me with that? Longbow King shouted coldly. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his body emitted a sharp aura. With a wave of his hand, blood dyed the void red, dripping onto the bow in front of him, causing a bloody light to overflow into the sky. Longbow King drew his bow again. This time. His movements were extremely fast as he continuously drew his bow and shot out 5 rays of light in a row. Presumably, these were the last 5 rays of the 7 gods archery technique. As soon as these 5 rays of light appeared, it crushed the void. They flickered in the sky. Each one of them was like a giant dragon, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, emitting an exceptional aura. At that moment, even the faces of those exceptional almighties changed. They could feel that if they were hit by these 5 arrows, even a peerless mighty figure would die. How terrifying. Could it be the legendary heaven-tier archery technique 7 God Arrow? The 7 rainbow piercing the sun could shatter everything. Unless he dodged, there was no way he could take it head-on. No, unless he faced it head-on, there was no way to dodge it. Someone corrected her. Just watch, he definitely won't be able to escape unless he has a heaven-defying defensive treasure. I reckon that this time his space god art might not work. Everyone around was a top-notch powerhouse. With their knowledge and experience, they were naturally very terrifying. At that moment, they directly deduced the next battle situation. Boom. In the sky, 5 rays of light flew over, connecting heaven and earth, forming a strange scene. At that moment, the world lost its color and only the 5 rays of light flew in the sky. Xing Tian also roared furiously. He felt a great sense of danger. Boom boom boom. He continuously waved his fists and used the space-shattering fist, shattering all the surrounding void, forming terrifying black holes one after another. There were stars flickering inside, which was obviously connected to the universe beyond the sky. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. These spaces were also very direct, engulfing the 5 rays of light. Whoosh. These spaces quickly healed. Were they engulfed? The surrounding people were shocked. Could it be that this person's space power had already reached such a heaven-defying level? They didn't dare to imagine. Crack, crack, crack. All of a sudden, the surrounding space began to emit cracking sounds, as if a mirror was shattering. Countless cracks spread in all directions, and then it collapsed with a loud bang. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 5 rays of light that devoured the heavens and split the earth directly rushed out. It shattered. They really came out. The surrounding people exclaimed. It seemed that their guess was right. The other party's space power couldn't suppress the 7 gods' arrow art this time. Seeing this scene, the longbow monarch in the distance laughed. Xing Tian's face became incomparably gloomy. He didn't expect the arrows to be so terrifying that even his space-shattering fist couldn't suppress them. Go to hell for me. The longbow monarch sneered. 5 rays of light burst out, and the earth-shattering rays of light flew quickly toward Xing Tian, wanting to pierce through him. Xing Tian roared as his body swayed. He changed his position and kept flashing in the sky. However, the 5 rays of light were very spiritual. No matter where he flashed, the 5 rays of light could firmly lock onto him. Ah, it's useless. You can't escape at all. The longbow monarch looked up to the sky and laughed as if he could already see the other party being pierced through. Since he couldn't escape, he would shatter it. Xing Tian roared. His figure was tall and his black hair fluttered in the wind. At this moment he looked like a war demon. He didn't escape but stood in the void. With a roar, an unparalleled power erupted from his body. 5 rays of light appeared beside him, forming 5 huge palms. They were incomparably ancient and looked like the hands of the heavens. These 5 palms grabbed at the 5 rays of light in the sky. Sky Rock Hand Dragon Lifting Technique. Xing Tian roared as the 5 palms shone brightly. They were like the hands of a giant, grabbing forward. The surrounding people exclaimed because these palms were too terrifying. In the distance, the longbow monarch sneered. You want to catch my 7 gods archery technique with your bare hands? You're overestimating yourself. Just wait, you'll be pierced through soon. Boom, 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 boom. 5 rays of light flashed and danced in the air like 5 flood dragons. They emitted a monstrous aura. However, the 5 palms mercilessly grabbed at the 5 dragon-like rays of light. Boom, boom. The two collided and an earth-shattering explosion of energy erupted. What? Caught. The surrounding experts were shocked and didn't dare to believe it. The longbow monarch's eyelids twitched and his eyeballs almost popped out, because he realized that the 5 rays of light in front of him were firmly caught by the 5 palms. At this moment the 5 palms looked very strange. They didn't look like the palms of a human, but the claws of a demonic beast. Blotting out the sky and covering the earth, they descended from the void and grabbed the 5 streaks of arrow light. It was as if they had caught the weak spot of a snake. They were abnormally sharp and decisive. The 5 rays of light couldn't resist at all. Chapter 24:38. The Longbow King's mind went blank. Heavens, how is this possible? His 7 gods archery technique was a heaven-grade archery technique. Its power was incomparably terrifying. If the 5 arrows shot out at the same time, they would be able to kill a peerless powerhouse of the same level. However, they could not do anything to the other party. In fact, they did not even cause any damage to the other party. Instead, the other party grabbed them tightly. Look, doesn't that palm look like the palm of the legendary Sky Rock? An old man asked in a low voice. The others looked over carefully and then they were extremely shocked. Indeed, the claw looked too strange. It looked like the claw of a demonic beast. Upon closer inspection, it did look very similar to the legendary Sky Rock. The Sky Rock was one of the peerless beasts of ancient times. It was extremely terrifying. Legend had it that it fed on dragons. No one had truly seen it before. However, the Sky Rock dragon technique was passed down. It was said that the golden rocks were the descendants of the Sky Rock. They knew the Sky Rock dragon technique and could kill flood dragons. Moreover, there were also peerless figures in the human race who created a terrifying technique based on the Sky Rock dragon technique. It was probably that guy who used the Sky Rock hand and the Sky Rock dragon technique. No wonder it was so terrifying. Everyone was shocked. Indeed, the Heavenly Rocks dragon unleashing technique could even kill a flood dragon, let alone 7 arrows. Were the people from Immortal Palace also terrifying? They actually knew such a terrifying divine ability. These people were shocked. The Longbow King's expression was extremely gloomy. He did not expect the other party to break through his 7 gods archery technique. Damn it. A hint of madness appeared in his eyes. It's not over yet. Go to hell. He roared angrily with a sinister expression. When the surrounding people saw this scene, their expressions changed drastically. Oh no, he's crazy. These people fled one after another because they had already guessed what the Longbow King was going to do. In the next moment, the Longbow King exploded the 5 arrows in a frenzy. The 5 arrows were extremely terrifying. When they exploded together, they could definitely destroy everything. As expected, violent energy instantly enveloped the entire space. The sky shook and the earth shook. This attack could definitely destroy the surrounding hundreds of thousands of miles. However, this was the ancient tomb of a saint. At this moment, wisps of the saints will appeared in the ancient tomb, suppressing the entire world. That was why the saint's ancient tomb was not destroyed. However, the space in the cave kept shattering. The others no longer dared to snatch the black worms and fled one after another. Longbow King quickly retreated into the tunnel behind him. Xing Tian, on the other hand, was completely engulfed by the violent energy. Let's see how you die this time. In the tunnel, Longbow King's expression was ferocious. Even though his opponent had broken through his 7 gods archery technique, the final victor would still be him. No matter how strong the other party was, it was impossible for them to withstand such a terrifying explosion. The experts from the other holy lands and great sects left one after another. This explosion was too terrifying. It would take a while for the energy to dissipate. There was no need for them to stay here. Therefore they all set off towards the front. After flying for a while, a spacious hall appeared. This hall was very big and incomparably tall. The ceiling above was filled with a starry sky map. It was mysterious and unfathomable, as if it was a real starry sky. At this moment, many people had gathered in the main hall. However, it didn't seem crowded, because the palace was too big. At this moment, all the major forces had set up camp. However, they were not in a hurry to set off. Instead, they were resting and recovering their strength. Although they had only passed through 2 caves, it was extremely dangerous. The battle was very intense. Many holy lands and great sects had lost their disciples. Even the saints and elders had expended too much of their energy. Therefore, they were all recovering at this moment. Lin Xian and the others naturally took up a spot as well. When Lin Xian arrived, many people looked over. Among them, the people from Tai Dynasty were shocked. Damn it, what's going on? Why is that kid here? Did Longbow King fail? They were puzzled. They had already sent Longbow King to hide in the dark and assassinate him. With Longbow King's unparalleled archery technique, it should have been easy for him to kill the other party. But why did he fail? They couldn't figure it out. Longbow King hadn't returned yet. The others also looked over. When they saw Lin Xian's pale face, they were also puzzled. What's wrong with that kid? Is he injured? That's not right. I didn't see him attack earlier. These people were also puzzled. Among them, the 5 Elements Saint Jiuxiao Seiko, Thousand Thunder Saint, and the others looked over with cold eyes. It's better if that kid dies. They didn't know what kind of injury Lin Xian had suffered, but seeing how weak he was now, they gloated. If he couldn't recover, they would find a chance to kill him later. Murong Qingqing naturally saw this scene. She hurried over and asked with concern, "Brother Xian, what's wrong?" When they left, Lin Xian was still fine. Why did he seem to be seriously ill in such a short period of time? I've exhausted my soul. Let me recover. Lin Xian's voice was weak. But fortunately, his soul had begun to recover. However, he couldn't use the heavenly secret divine eyes for a short period of time. Palace Master, here's a purple soul pill. It's used to recover soul power. Elder Wang walked over, took out a palm-sized jade gourd and poured out a pill. The pill was the size of a walnut. It was purple in color and had golden pill patterns on it. The moment it appeared, waves of pill fragrance floated over. It attracted everyone's attention. Then they all cried out in surprise. Heavens! That's a purple soul pill. It's a panacea for recovering soul power. I didn't expect them to have such a divine pill. These people were envious. Murong Qingqing also ran back and asked for some panacea for one of their elders. Brother Xian, these are 2 drops of spirit congealing water. Is very beneficial for nourishing soul power. Spirit congealing water. Elder Li and the others were moved. They also knew that this was a type of sacred water from the Jade Lake. It was very precious and not inferior to their purple soul pill. Lin Xian took it and swallowed it. The surrounding people were even more envious, especially the saints, princes, and the young masters of the various large families. Their eyes were red like those of rabbits. Damn it, why does this kid have so many divine pills and miraculous medicines? Moreover, he's able to obtain the favor of a peerless saintess like Murong Qingqing. This made them jealous to death. The eyes of the people from the Jade Lake sacred ground also flickered. To be honest, they usually wouldn't give this kind of spirit-congealing water to outsiders. However, they knew that the relationship between Murong Qingqing and Lin Xian was not shallow. Moreover, they also discovered that Lin Xian's strength was not simple and was extremely mysterious. Chapter 2439. They had also realized that Lin Xian's strength was not simple. He was very mysterious. His swordsmanship had moved them. They had also heard of the immortal palace behind him and knew that it was an organization that was not weaker than the sacred ground. Therefore, it was very beneficial for them to be on good terms with him. Especially now that they were in the saint's tomb. It was safer to work together. Lin Xian's complexion had become much rosier after consuming the 2 divine medicines and divine waters. He heaved a sigh of relief, then squinted his eyes and asked, "Why isn't Xing Tian back yet? Is he all right?" "Don't worry, Palace Master. Xing Tian is definitely fine," Elder Li and the others said with a smile. They were very clear about Xing Tian's strength. He was a terrifying existence. Lin Xian also nodded. Since the old Palace Master had asked Xing Tian to protect him, it meant that Xing Tian's strength was definitely recognized by the old Palace Master. Thinking of this, he was no longer worried. Instead, he looked around. Sensing Lin Xian's gaze, the 5 Elements Saint and the others snorted coldly. The other saint's eyes also flickered. However, at that moment, someone exclaimed, "Damn it! What happened?" Everyone turned their heads to look. They saw a gourd in the old man's arms suddenly crack open, and black worms crawled out. How is that possible? They came out again? Damn it! The old man was furious. The gourd was his secret treasure. How could it not trap the black worms? Oh no, it's the will of a saint. In the next moment, his face changed because the worms were emitting the will of a saint. Although it was very weak, it was enough to make them shudder. Ka. Not only the old man but the 5 Elements sect, 9 Heavens Sacred Ground for symbol Sacred Ground, and a large family behind him. The black worms that they had captured had all broken the seal and crawled out. Each worm carried the will of a saint. They crawled toward the cave as if they were being summoned. Damn it, how could this be? The people from the 5 Elements Sacred Ground and Thousand Thunder Sacred Ground gritted their teeth in anger. Buzz. The Wavering Light Sacred Ground Saint suddenly frowned. The dragon pattern cauldron replica suddenly floated above and trembled slightly. Obviously, the black worms inside were resisting. A sage's will was emitted. The Yao Guang Saint shouted angrily. He kept slapping the dragon pattern tripod. The 2 dragons on the replica dragon pattern cauldron seemed to come alive. They emitted a powerful aura and sealed the replica dragon pattern cauldron completely. Suppress. The Yao Guang Saint shouted coldly, and the dragon pattern tripod returned to his body. Whoosh. Seeing this, the people of the Yaoguang sacred land heaved a sigh of relief. However, Leaf Dao Denier managed to rise to his feet, his energy and blood surging. Golden light shone in all directions. It was unknown what method was used, but the consciousness of those sages disappeared. On the other side, Murong Qingqing also had a solemn expression on her face. Clearly, her lotus vase had also suffered from the impact of the saint's will. Fortunately, the lotus vase was an extremely terrifying magic treasure. At this moment, Murong Qingqing quickly formed hand seals to activate the lotus vase. The lotus flower was the weak will of a saint. In the end, she also destroyed a trace of the saint's will. Other than them, the other holy lands were not so lucky. The bugs broke out of the seal and flew off into the distance. Angry roars could be heard one after another. Among them, the Grand Xia dynasty used a secret technique to seal the saint again. Other than that, a few holy monks from the western desert took out a purple alms bowl and sealed it again. In the Nanling Mountains, a few people in black robes held a black jar. The black bugs inside did not come out either. However, there were less than 2 people who could seal the bugs. The other great sects of the Holy Lands really didn't have this kind of sealing treasure. Some chose not to make a move as if they were hiding their trump cards. After all, they had only been through 2 caves. Some people did not want to reveal their trump cards too early. Therefore, the black insects they obtained all flew back to them. On Lin Xian's side, Elderly frowned. Because he realized that the bugs he sealed were starting to fight back. The saints will rushed out again. What should we do, Hallmaster? Elderly looked at Lin Xian. Lin Xian's eyes flashed, then he said in a low voice, "Let them go." He also understood that the people who suppressed the bugs were Holy Land's aristocratic families with extreme-grade weapons. The weapons they used to suppress the black bugs were all imitations of extreme-grade weapons. Its power was unpredictable. Only then could they eliminate the Saint's will. Some of the other Holy Land's aristocratic families did not have such weapons, and some did not take them out. Therefore those people did not keep the bugs. The Immortal Palace probably also had such a heaven-defying forbidden weapon that could suppress the bugs. However, Lin Xian did not plan to take it out. Firstly, he did not want to attract the attention of these people and expose his trump cards too early. Secondly, he had successfully tamed 100 bugs. This number added up to more than the Light Shaking clan and the Yi clan combined. Therefore he felt that it was about time. There was no need to expose his trump cards for these 20 to 30 bugs. Elder Li and the others naturally understood this logic. Thus they waved their hands and released the black bugs. Sure enough, when they saw the black bugs crawling out from Lin Xian's side, the other Holy Land's aristocratic families secretly heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that the Immortal Palace was not as terrifying as they had imagined. The 5 Elements Saint, the 10,000 Thunder Saint, and the others also snorted coldly, feeling much better. However, these people did not know that Lin Xian now had 100 black bugs in his hands. The number was more terrifying than the 5 top Holy Lands combined. Moreover, these 100 black bugs had completely obliterated the Saint's will. Could be said that they were very safe. If these people knew about this, they would probably vomit blood. Just as everyone was feeling annoyed and jealous about what had happened before, a series of footsteps suddenly sounded in front of them. When they heard this sound, they looked up. Their eyes were like divine red as they locked onto the void in front of them. They had stopped in this hall for 2 reasons. Firstly, they needed to rest and recuperate. Secondly, they needed to think about their next path. This was because there was not only one path that extended from this hall, but 3 paths. These 3 paths were exactly the same. They were extremely dark and could not be seen clearly. Therefore they did not know which path to choose. However, at this moment, footsteps could be heard from the 3 paths in front of them. What was going on? Could it be that someone had already entered in advance? Or could it be that something unknown had walked out from inside? They did not know. Chapter 2440. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and looked into the distance. His soul power had not fully recovered, so he could not activate his heavenly secret divine eyes easily. Therefore he could not see clearly what was inside. However, he was not anxious because he could hear the footsteps getting closer and closer. It was obvious that someone was coming out from inside. Indeed, before long, countless lights shone from the left of the 3 passageways in front of him. Then a group of people walked out. The first person was a girl. Her big black eyes were like crescent moons and she looked very sweet. There were many young people and elders behind her. Obviously this was a very large organization. Wuxia Holy Land. Why did they go in early? Someone immediately exclaimed because they recognized the identity of these people. Lin Xian was also very surprised after hearing this. Whoosh. He also stood up and looked carefully. Wuxia Holy Land. Wasn't this the Holy Land that Xin Jingqiu went to? Murong Qingqing was also surprised. She pulled Lin Xian and said, "Look, isn't that Qiu'er?" Indeed, the cute girl at the front was Xin Jingqiu. She was taller than before and her face was more beautiful. The aura on her body was also unusually strong. Xin Jingqiu came out and felt the gazes of countless people. She snorted softly and ignored them. The martial artists of Wuxia Holy Land behind her were indeed a little nervous. They did not expect so many people to come to this hall. What were these people doing? Why didn't they find a passageway to go in? When did they go in? The elders of Wavering Light Holy Land were puzzled. The people of Yi family were also asking. The people of the various families in Great Sage Land were all discussing. In an instant all kinds of questions were asked. Suddenly, in the midst of everyone's confusion, hearty laughter was heard. Qiu. Hearing this voice, Xin Jingqiu turned around. In the next moment she smiled and her big eyes narrowed into crescents. Big brother Lin Xian. She turned into a bolt of lightning and came in front of Lin Xian in an instant. Then she threw herself into Lin Xian's arms. Great, I finally got to meet you. The little girl was so excited that she was about to cry. Everyone around was stunned. They looked at this scene and their minds went blank. They couldn't believe it. The people of the Purple Afterglow Holy Land were also dumbfounded, as if they had seen a ghost. Firmament? What happened? The holy daughter of the Purple Afterglow Holy Land actually threw herself into someone else's arms? Who was it? They didn't know who had such great charm. However, when they saw Lin Xian, they all gritted their teeth. Damn it, it's this brat again. How could it be him again? Didn't this guy have a good relationship with the saintess of the medicinal herbs sect? Why was he able to woo the holy maiden of the Purple Dawn Holy Land? Heavens, who can tell me what's going on? Strike me with a bolt of lightning. Wails of anguish rang out one after another. The people of the Wuxia Holy Land were also stunned. The faces of the people from the Jade Lake Sacred Ground also darkened. This brat was too fickle in love. Damn it, I knew that this brat wasn't anything good. In the Jade Lake Sacred Ground, Zhao Zhiruan gnashed her teeth in anger. In this world, it was very normal to want to have multiple wives and concubines. Not to mention having multiple wives and concubines, even having a harem of 3,000 was not a problem. However, have you ever seen someone who could flirt with 3,000 saintesses? That was simply impossible. There was no difference between having 2 and having 3,000. Every saintess was extremely proud and confident, who would allow themselves to share a man with others. But now, such a thing had actually happened. Heavens, what kind of magic does this brat have? I guess he must have deliberately concealed it and flirted with the Jade Lake Saintess and Purple Afterglow Holy Daughter separately. Now this brat has exposed himself. Just wait, the Jade Lake Saintess will definitely be furious. There will probably be a great battle and this brat might be killed. Some people gloated while others sneered. They guessed that it must be like this. The Jade Lake Saintess must not know about this matter. They were looking forward to the upcoming battle. But soon they were dumbfounded. In fact, their eyeballs almost popped out. Because they saw that Murong Qingqing was smiling. She didn't look angry at all. Heavens, could it be that the Jade Lake Saintess already knew about this matter? That was impossible. The Jade Lake Saintess was an incomparably proud person. She even looked down on the other saintesses. How could she allow this brat to have a foot in both boats? Even if the Jade Lake Saintess was willing, then Purple Afterglow was also willing? They didn't believe it. Alright, aren't we meeting now? In front, Lin Xian said with a smile. Hearing this, Shen Jingqiu stood up from Lin Xian's embrace. Her little face was red and she was very shy. Big sister Qingqing, you're also here. I missed you so much. Shen Jingqiu said as she held Murong Qingqing's hand. This scene was like a clap of thunder that made everyone dizzy. Oh my heavens! What was this situation? Why were the two of them so close? Could it be that two women were really going to share a man? But damn, these were two saintesses. They had never seen such a thing. It had to be known that these holy lands and large sects had existed for many years and had produced many saintesses. But they had never heard of two saintesses falling in love with the same person at the same time. Except for that peerless demon who made the flower protector and snatched more than a dozen saintesses at once to become his harem. But he was forced to do it forcefully and those saintesses didn't obediently agree. So, they really hadn't seen a scene like this before. Damn, who the hell was this brat? What kind of charm did he have? How could he do this? These people were all crazy. The people of the Jade Lake Holy Land and Purple Afterglow Holy Land were also stunned. They were so shocked that they couldn't speak. Behind them, the people of the Immortal Palace also widened their eyes. Damn. As expected of the palace master, he's really strong. I admire this method. This was what everyone thought. But at this time, an angry roar came from the distance. Damn brat, let go of our saintess. This angry roar came from none other than the Purple Afterglow Holy Land. The people of the Purple Afterglow Holy Land were stunned, especially the male disciples. They were all gnashing their teeth and their eyes were filled with killing intent. One of them, a tall man, looked in the direction of Lin Xian and shouted loudly. Seeing that someone had taken the lead, the other disciples of the Purple Afterglow Holy Land also roared. Damn little thief, how dare you blaspheme our saintess, you don't want to live anymore. That's right, how dare you be so rude, we must chop you up and feed you to the dogs. These people roared again and again. Hearing this, the people of the Immortal Palace couldn't take it anymore. They stood up one by one, exuding a cold aura. In the sky, invisible pressure collided and instantly tore several black holes, bobbing up and down. It was very terrifying. Chapter 2441. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they all had playful smiles on their faces. The Five Elements Saint, Thousand Thunder Saint Jiuxiao Seiko and the others sneered. Let's see what this kid will do. He will definitely be torn to pieces by the people of the Wuxia Holy Land. The people of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground also frowned. However, at this time, Shen Jingqiu turned around and looked at the young warriors of the Wuxia Holy Land. She frowned and said, "What are you shouting about? This is my brother Lin Xian. How can he hurt me? Hearing this, the surrounding people were shocked. The male disciples of the Wuxia Holy Land almost vomited blood. They were jealous and mad. Their saintess was actually siding with him. This was intolerable. One had to know that these male disciples usually regarded Jingqiu as a goddess. Even some powerful young geniuses had set their goal of marrying Jingqiu. But now they realized that their dreams had been shattered. Someone had beaten them to it and snatched their goddess. Saintess, you must have been bewitched by this kid. Saintess, you are so high and mighty. How can you take a fancy to this kid? The others were also gnashing their teeth. Among them there was a man with an unusually gloomy face. He was tall and sturdy, and his bronze skin gave off an unusually strong feeling. Especially his eyes, which were very sharp and carried a supreme sense of oppression. At a glance, one could tell that he was a very powerful person. At this moment he stared at Lin Xian and said coldly, "Kid, I'll give you a chance. Get away from our saintess. Otherwise don't blame me for being rude." As soon as these words came out, everyone's expression changed. This was because there was an endless amount of purple chi between heaven and earth. Bailey, don't go too far. Hearing this, Jingqiu's face turned cold. Saintess, this guy is not a good person. You'd better stay away from him. Bailey, he was very powerful. Although he was not a saint, his talent and strength were also very powerful. Especially his identity. He was the grandson of the fourth elder of the Wuxia Holy Land. The fourth elder was an elder with real power in the Wuxia Holy Land. He was very terrifying. Moreover, his cultivation was terrifying, reaching the level of an invincible king. Therefore, Bailey, he had been very arrogant since he was young. He did not put his peers in his eyes. Moreover, no one dared to provoke him. After all, he had an invincible king-level grandfather. No one would easily provoke him. This allowed him to develop a rather strong personality. Now he even dared to criticize Saint Daughter Wuxia. There was even a trace of unquestionable authority in his words. Her tone made Jingqiu frown. Lin Xian also furrowed his brow. Who is this fellow? How dare he be so rude to Qiu? Were the people of the Purple Afterglow Holy Land so unruly? Forget it, brother Lin Xian, just ignore him. Jingqiu shook her head. Seeing that Lin Xian was chatting with Jingqiu and completely ignoring him, Bailey, he almost vomited blood. When had he ever been looked down upon like this? In his eyes, although he was not a chosen, he did not think that he was weaker than a chosen. Therefore he had always been high and mighty. But now he was actually being ignored? Damn brat, how dare you ignore me? I'm going to kill you. A terrifying murderous aura surged from Bailey's body. However, at this moment, a young man walked out from beside him. Senior brother Bailey, why do you need to kill him? I can do it. He was also a handsome young man. His eyes were long and narrow and they shone with a cold light. Naturally, he had appeared to curry favor with Bailey. At this moment he stood out and looked ahead with a cold smile. Brat, you're too reckless. How dare you provoke our senior brother Bailey? Go to hell. Whoosh. He dashed over. One slash. Lin Xian did not move. Instead he shouted coldly. Hearing that, Hui Dao's body swayed and he stood out. Go to hell. The young man's face darkened. Lin Xian did not want to fight with him. Was he looking down on him? He roared angrily and a terrifying aura surged out from his body. He struck out with his palm. In the sky, a large purple palm appeared and quickly descended. The terrifying aura made people tremble and the entire void split open. Looking at this scene, Hui Dao was expressionless. When the large purple palm approached, he pulled out the full moon scimitar from his waist. Bus. Two crescent-shaped saber lights flew out. One of them slashed on the large purple palm, making a thunderous sound. The space between heaven and earth shattered. The large purple palm was split open by the saber. Whoosh. The second slash sent the young man flying. What? How could he be so powerful? The young martial artist from the Purple Dawn Holy Land narrowed his eyes. He did not expect his attack to be split open by the other party. And now he was in danger of being killed. He roared angrily. The purple chi around his body surged and formed a purple shield in front of him. Bang! A low sound was heard. The purple shield shattered into pieces. The young martial artist spat out blood and flew backward. Seeing this scene, the surrounding people were in an uproar. Especially those from the Purple Dawn Holy Land, their faces darkened. Who is this person? What a terrifying saber technique. Bailey, he also roared angrily. Damn it, who are you? He did not expect that the other party would have such a powerful saber king by his side. Immortal Palace Hui Dao. Hui Dao stood proudly. His expression became extremely gloomy. How dare you be rude to the master of Immortal Palace? Kneel down and accept your death. His voice was like thunder, exploding in all directions. You're courting death. Bailey, he was also angry. How dare he ask him to kneel down and accept his death? No one in the younger generation dared to say that. He took a step forward, and the aura on his body suddenly erupted. Not only that, but a few powerful young martial artists also came out from behind him. Their eyes were cold. On the opposite side, Hui Dao sneered. Behind him, Ghostly and Peacock also walked up. The 100 elite martial artists were all overflowing with murderous aura, forming a terrifying pressure. This scene shocked everyone. Many people swallowed their saliva. Bailey, he was also stunned. How could the other party have so many experts? He did not dare to make a move. Although he was powerful, the 3 people in front of him each had a terrifying aura. They were not weaker than him. Moreover, there were more than 100 elites behind them. Who was this kid? What was Immortal Palace? Why had he never heard of it? In his opinion, he did not think that Immortal Palace was some kind of Holy Land level existence. Because such an existence was known in the world. No one did not know. However, he had never heard of Immortal Palace. Therefore, in his opinion, Immortal Palace should be a small sect that did not make the cut. Moreover, these people were too arrogant. They actually dared to use Immortal as their name? Could it be that they were not afraid of being attacked by a group? However, although Bailey he had never heard of Immortal Palace, the pupils of the Purple Dawn Holy Land's elders constricted when they heard this name. They were all bewildered. Chapter 2442. Could it be that Immortal Palace? Had they appeared? The elders of the Purple Cloud Holy Land were shocked. That was because they had heard some legends about Immortal Palace. Although it was very vague and there was very little information, without exception, it proved that it was an existence that was not weaker than a peerless Holy Land. Moreover, it had a long history and was very terrifying. If it was really that Immortal Palace, then they could not easily start a war with them. Because if they did not handle it well, it would be a war between the 2 Holy Lands. They could not bear the consequences of that. Moreover, it was not a wise choice to provoke such a terrifying force for no reason. More importantly, their saintess had a very good relationship with the Immortal Palace Master. Thus, when they thought of this, the elders immediately came to a decision. An old woman shouted in a deep voice, "Stop! What are you doing? Are you rebelling?" Hearing that, the young male warriors of the Purple Cloud Holy Land trembled, and a trace of shock appeared in their eyes. Their elders had actually stopped them. What was going on? Could it be that their elders were afraid? Or was there another reason? They could not understand. Bailey his expression was also ugly. He said, "Elders, they are too arrogant." Shut up. The elders' faces also darkened. Although Bailey his identity was special, they could not allow him to be presumptuous. After all, no matter how powerful Bailey he was only a young figure. These elders would not give him face. Bailey he was so angry that he vomited blood, but there was nothing he could do. Indeed, he was arrogant, but that was only in front of the younger generation. Towards these elders, he was still respectful and reverent. He had no choice but to grit his teeth and stand back. However, his eyes were incomparably cold as he stared at Lin Xian. He swore that as long as there was a chance he would definitely kill this kid secretly. However, the elders of the Purple Cloud Holy Land stood out. They walked forward and looked at Lin Xian. "Are you really the Immortal Palace Master?" "Yes, I am." Lin Xian nodded. He was not particularly arrogant. Of course, he was not overly modest either. His current status was even higher than these elders. "Granny Chen, he is the big brother Lin Xian that I mentioned," Xin Jingqiu said from the side. "So it's Palace Master Lin." Elder Chen was too polite. Lin Xian smiled. Seeing this scene, the cultivators from the Purple Afterglow Holy Land were shocked. They widened their eyes in disbelief. Their elder was actually so courteous to a brat? This made them look like they had seen a ghost. Even Bailey his face was gloomy. He was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. At the front, Elder Li and the others also stepped forward. They looked at Granny Gon and asked in confusion, "Fellow Taoist, what did you find in the tunnel? What were the mysteries behind these 3 paths?" Hearing this, everyone pricked up their ears and listened carefully, because they also wanted to know what these 3 paths were. Elder Qian said, "We only entered the leftmost path and turned back after walking halfway, because there was a powerful formation mechanism. With just our family's power, it's very difficult to contend against them. That's why we've come back to prepare for an alliance. As for the other two paths, we don't know. But come to think of it, it should be about the same. Hearing this, everyone's expression turned solemn. They knew how powerful the Purple Afterglow Holy Land was. A formation that even they couldn't contend against must be especially terrifying. Therefore, for a moment, everyone was discussing countermeasures. Which path should they choose? Should they gather their strength and take one path, or should they split their strength and take three paths? Big brother Lin Xian, which path should you take? Qiu wants to go with you. Xin Jingqiu looked up and asked. She had just seen Lin Xian. How could she bear to leave? Murong Qingqing, who was at the side, was also waiting. Lin Xian was smiling. He hadn't decided yet because Elder Li and the others were still discussing. Elder Li, if we split into 3 teams and encounter special dangers, can we resist them? Lin Xian asked. No problem. We all have secret treasures on us, and I also think that we should split into 3 teams. After all, no one knows where these 3 paths will lead to. But I'm sure that one path is correct. Therefore, if we split into 3 teams, our chances of winning will be greatly increased. Alright, let's split into 3 teams. We'll do it as before. Elder Li will take the middle team. Elder Wang and Elder Lu, you'll take the left and right teams respectively. Yes. The 3 elders agreed. Xin Jingqiu also cheered. Alright, I'll take the middle path with big brother Lin Xian. Sister Qingqing, why don't you come with us? She grabbed Murong Qingqing's hand. Okay. Murong Qingqing was shocked. 2 peerless beauties, 2 saintesses, snuggled up to Lin Xian and were so obedient. This scene made many people jealous. Even the saintesses and princes were envious. However, at this moment, Bailey he spoke again. Saintess, no, what ability does that kid have to protect you? It's too dangerous for you there. You should take the left path with us. With me here, I'll definitely protect you. The elders of the Purple Dawn Sacred Land didn't say anything because Bailey he still said what they thought. Xin Jingqiu was their saintess. They were indeed worried about letting their saintess go with someone else. After all, the death of a saintess was a serious matter. Even if she was injured, they couldn't bear it. How dare you question Immortal Palace? Hu Yidao and the others snorted coldly and were about to refute. At this moment, the sound of footsteps came from the passage in front of them again. The footsteps were abnormally heavy. The others turned their heads one after another with puzzled expressions. Someone else is coming? Who is it? Isn't the majority of the troops already here? They looked over in confusion. Soon, a huge figure appeared in the passage in front of them. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his figure was tall like a god of war. His body was covered in blood. At this moment, his killing intent was still surging, shattering the void. This scene was really shocking. Who is this person? How terrifying. Seeing this scene, many people cried out in surprise. Isn't he the person beside that kid from Immortal Palace? Why did he come so late? What did he do earlier? Everyone was puzzled. They naturally recognized that the other party was one of Lin Xian's guards. Look, he's holding a head in his hand. It seems that he must have gone through a great battle earlier. Who did he fight? Everyone was discussing animatedly. The people of the Purple Dawn Sacred Land also frowned. Their eyes were fixed on this figure. The tall figure that looked like a god of war came in front of Lin Xian and then said respectfully, "Young master, it's done." Very good. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up into a smile. Seeing this scene, the people of the Purple Dawn Sacred Land were shocked. They didn't expect that such a terrifying figure was also Lin Xian's subordinate. In particular, Bailey he and the others had gloomy expressions. Chapter 2443. That was because Xing Tian turned around and threw the black object in his hand. The object streaked across the sky and landed in front of the Tai dynasty. Ahead. Everyone saw clearly that this thing was actually a human head. Throwing a head at the Tai dynasty? What was going on? Was there hatred between the two sides? They didn't know, but they knew that a good show was coming. The 5 elements Saint Sun, the 10,000 Thunder Saint Sun, and the others sneered. They felt that Immortal Palace was too arrogant. Not only did they offend them, they even dared to offend the Tai dynasty. One had to know that this was the central state. Although they were in the Great Xia dynasty, it was easy for the Tai dynasty to send an army here. Weren't these people from Immortal Palace afraid that they wouldn't be able to leave? What a reckless guy. The 5 elements Saint Sun sneered. The 10,000 Thunder Saint Sun also snorted. How could a mere head scare the people from the Tai dynasty? What a joke. The others had the same thought, but they were soon stunned. To be honest, the people from the Tai dynasty were also stunned. When they saw Lin Xian return safely, they were puzzled. What was the Longbow King doing? Now that they saw the other party throwing a head at them, the people from the Tai dynasty were furious. The other party dared to provoke them in public? Did they really think that they wouldn't dare to fight? However, when they saw the head on the ground, their bodies stiffened as if they were struck by lightning. Everyone's eyelids twitched wildly, and a chill rose from the bottom of their hearts. That was the Longbow King's head. Damn it, how was that possible? The people from the Tai dynasty went crazy. The Longbow King was killed and his head was cut off. They couldn't believe it. Naturally, the others also noticed this scene and they all screamed, their faces full of shock. That was the Longbow King's head. Heavens, the Longbow King was killed. You mean the famous Longbow King of the Central State, the Longbow King? That's right, other than him, who else could it be? Exclamations came one after another. When the people from the Purple Dawn Holy Land heard it, they also gasped. Especially the young warriors, their scalps went numb. That was at least at the almighty level, and a terrifying one at that. His archery skills were strong, but he was easily killed by the other party. Thinking of this, their bodies trembled. Before this, they actually dared to go against such a terrifying person? Wasn't this courting death? Bailey He's expression was extremely ugly. Damn brat, you actually dared to kill Longbow King. You're courting death. The people from the Tai dynasty were furious. This time they were all on the first prince's and the empress's side. Therefore it was natural for them to oppose each other. After Lin Xian heard this, he sneered. What? You can send people to assassinate me, but I can't kill your people? This is just a warning. If there is a next time, don't blame me for killing all of you and the first prince. At this point, a cold, killing intent surfaced in Lin Xian's eyes. The hearts of the people around were beating wildly. The young martial artists shrank their necks. The people of the Tai dynasty had ugly looks on their faces. The other party was too domineering and arrogant. However, the other party was so powerful. They sent Longbow King because he was a long-range attacker. Even if he was surrounded, he could easily escape. But now the other party was killed. Moreover, he was not killed by the other party. It seemed that he was killed in a one-on-one duel. This made the situation serious. They looked at Xing Tian with a hint of fear in their eyes. Needless to say, this was definitely a terrifying and peerless expert. Just you wait, this matter is not over. The people of the Tai dynasty gritted their teeth. They were incomparably cold, but they did not attack immediately. Seeing this scene, the surrounding people were even more shocked. The other party had already thrown the head in front of the Tai dynasty. This was a blatant slap in the face. With the strength of the Tai dynasty, they would definitely counterattack immediately, because no dynasty would tolerate such a slap in the face. However, the Tai dynasty tolerated it and did not attack immediately. What did this mean? This meant that the Tai dynasty was afraid of the other party. For a moment, everyone looked at Lin Xian and the other members of Immortal Palace with a hint of fear in their hearts. The young martial artists of the Purple Dawn Holy Land gasped. They decided not to challenge the other party to a duel anymore. Of course, except for a few people like Bailey He. Bailey He, the Five Elements Saint, the 10,000 Thunder Saint, the Tuoba family, and the others looked gloomy. They felt that they had to find a way to kill the other party. Otherwise, if the other party continued to grow, he would definitely become an unimaginable enemy. The death of the Longbow King caused a huge commotion. Everyone was shocked. It was not until a long time later that everyone came to their senses. Not long after, the Yi family and the Wavering Light Sacred Land prepared to take action and entered the 3 tunnels ahead. Among them, Immortal Palace was divided into 3 teams. Lin Xian and the others were going to take the middle tunnel. In addition to the members of Immortal Palace, Murong Qingqing and Xin Jingqiu were also following Lin Xian. Previously, the people of the Purple Dawn Holy Land and the Jade Lake Sacred Land were still worried. However, after the Longbow King was killed, they tacitly agreed. They would let the 2 saintesses stay with Lin Xian for a while. After going through the 3 tunnels, they would bring the saintesses back. The other sacred lands, great sects and royal families also sent out teams. Most of them chose to take the form of 3 teams. After all, they did not want to miss any of the tunnels. Of course, there were a few extreme people who chose to take one of the tunnels. This was because their strength was relatively weaker. If they split up again, they might not have a chance at all. Let's go. Everyone moved and walked toward the 3 tunnels ahead. At the same time, in the second cave behind them, Yen Ruyu and the others from Demon Imperial Palace appeared again. They wondered what would happen in the second trial. The martial artists from Demon Imperial Palace were excited, but when they arrived, their expressions changed. From all directions, from the sky to the ground, there were black bugs everywhere pouncing toward them. Get lost. An expert from Demon Imperial Palace roared. He stretched out his palm, which was covered in scales, and sent a group of bugs flying with a slap. How dare mere bugs block the path of our Demon Imperial Palace? This person snorted disdainfully. However, he was soon stunned. Not only him, but the surrounding martial artists from Demon Imperial Palace were all stunned. Even Hua Tiandu and Yen Ryu were frowning. This was because they discovered that the black bugs that were sent flying did not receive any damage at all and crashed into the wall. Then they crawled over again. That was way too bizarre. That strike just now was more than enough to tear an ordinary almighty being into pieces. These bugs were actually fine? This made them unable to believe it. The people who attacked were stunned. But soon they screamed miserably. This was because a few people's armor had been bitten open, and their flesh was a mess. Chapter 2444. Damn it. Get lost. They roared angrily, and a majestic power rushed out of their bodies. Some of them even attacked crazily. However, although they could block the attacks, they could not hurt those insects at all. How could this be? Hua Tiandu and Yen Ryu both frowned. Damn it. An old man cried out in alarm. This old man was very strange. He had 2 antlers on his head that were covered with mysterious runes. At this moment he exclaimed, "Those don't seem to be insects. They're not insects? Then what are they?" Yen Ryu was puzzled. The old man with antlers became excited. Puppets? Those are mechanical puppets. Moreover, they're made of dark demonic gold. Oh my god, we're rich. What? Dark demonic gold? Is it a material to make a heaven-grade treasure? The people of the Demon King Palace were all excited. On the other side, an old man with a python tail shook his head. Don't be careless. If there's really such a good treasure, the humans won't leave it behind. They'll definitely take it away. There are traps, dangers, or mechanisms here that we don't know about. Everyone be careful here. As soon as he said that, everyone nodded in agreement and became careful. Indeed, in their opinion, the humans were very greedy and would not give up such a treasure. Brr. Boom. Suddenly, an angry roar came from the front. Then the black dragon turtle walked out again. It was like a small black mountain, and it had an aura that made people tremble. What's that? Yen Ryu and the others were shocked. Could it be that it's also caused by dark demonic gold? Thinking of that, they gasped and their eyes turned red. Go. Under Hua Tiandu's order, a burly man walked forward. That man was also a half-demon with green scales on his body. At this moment, his claw was like a beast's claw that descended from the sky. It was like a green mountain that pressed down from the sky. Bang. The large green palm directly slapped the black dragon turtle, causing an intense collision. However, the half-demon man was the one who screamed in pain. His palm was directly pierced through. Blood dyed the sky red. What? The dragon turtle is so powerful. The people of the Demon King Palace were shocked. Whoosh. Boom boom boom. In the sky, a black shadow flashed and the burly man was sent flying. Damn it, let's attack together. Hua Tiandu's face sank. The experts of the Demon Imperial Palace all made their moves, preparing to subdue the dragon turtle. The others dealt with the bugs. Although the black dragon turtle and the insect were powerful, they were still suppressed by the many experts of the Demon King Palace. He was about to be subdued. However, at this moment of crisis, a majestic force rushed out of their bodies and swept out in all directions. This force caused everyone to fly backwards. At this moment, those elders Hua Tiandu and Yen Ryu all felt enormous pressure. Their faces were pale and their eyes were filled with fear. The will of the sage. This was actually the will of a saint. No wonder. At this moment, they understood why the humans gave up on these treasures. This was the will of a saint. It was hard to get rid of it. Keeping it by his side was like a ticking time bomb. Who knew when it would erupt? Saint, should we use that? The elder with antlers asked. Hua Tiandu's face darkened as he nodded his head. He snorted coldly and countless runes appeared on his forehead. Those runes all rose into the air and turned into a mysterious bell, pressing down from the sky. The Demon Emperor Bell was an extremely terrifying weapon. Of course, it was not the real Demon Emperor Bell but a defensive product. However, its power was also unparalleled. In an instant, it suppressed 30 black bugs, captured them and completely sealed them. As for the rest, they were powerless now. The people of the Demon Imperial Palace had no choice, but Yen Ryu's red lips opened again. The green light swept through the area and instantly captured 30 black bugs, sealing them completely. Then they were put into a box. When the green light appeared, these people were all terrified. Even the replica Demon Emperor Bell trembled slightly. Let's go. Yen Ryu retracted the green light and said indifferently. These people of the Demon Imperial Palace left again and set off forward. Finally, they arrived at the main hall. Looking at the 3 passageways in front of them, these people narrowed their eyes. There are actually 3 passageways. Which one should we take? These people began to discuss. They came to the 3 entrances and observed carefully. At each of these 3 entrances, there was a large amount of aura left behind. Obviously, those humans had all entered. 2 choices. Split into 3 groups and enter separately or choose one of them. Everyone pondered. Yen Ryu formed a seal with her fingers, and a light appeared in her eyes as she swept across the 3 passageways. The corner of her mouth raised into a smile. No matter what, I must take the middle path. Is there a reason? The elders of the Demon Imperial Palace asked. They did not find anything special. The corner of Yen Ryu's mouth raised. There is no special reason. I just like the middle path. Hearing this, the elders' mouths twitched and they rolled their eyes. However, they did not dare to say anything. Although Yen Ryu was not a member of the Demon Imperial Palace, her identity was too special. They did not dare to provoke her. They had to treat her like how they treated the saints and saintesses. Alright, since Ryu said so, then we will take the middle path. Watindu waved his hand. They set off towards the middle path. Of course, they also sent a small number of people to the other 2 paths secretly. Lin Xian and the others walked into the middle path of the 3 paths. They were wearing battle armors that shone brightly. Most of them did not activate their king's domain. After all, it consumed too much spiritual power. Moreover, no one knew when there would be a big battle. Therefore, they usually wore battle armors and released their light. Logically speaking, with so many of them, the light from each of them should be like the sun, illuminating an area. However, they could not do so in this passage. They could only illuminate an area of 1 or 2 meters around them. In the distance, it was dark as if there was a mysterious force suppressing them. The ancient tomb of a saint definitely had the means of a saint. It was not something that they could imagine. Therefore, Lin Xian and the others advanced carefully. On the right, Murong Qingqing held his arm. On the left, Shen Jingqiu held his hand. The 3 of them walked in front. Behind them, Elder Li Xingtian and the others followed. There were other sacred grounds in front of them, and there were also peerless sects behind them. These forces were all separated by a certain distance to prevent sudden attacks. Fortunately, the journey was peaceful and they didn't encounter any traps. Chapter 2445. Could there be something even more terrifying waiting for them ahead? They did not know. But after going through the previous 2 caves, they knew that there was more to this place than met the eye. Whoever dared to underestimate the tomb of a saint would have to face the end of their road. Damn it! What was going on? At this moment, a furious roar came from behind. Hearing this voice, everyone stopped in their tracks. Everyone be careful. Xing Tian said in a deep voice. The energy in their bodies was circulating rapidly, ready to explode at any moment. Lin Xian frowned. Shen Jingqiu and Murong Qingqing also turned around. What happened? An elder from the Great Xia dynasty asked. They realized that the person who screamed was from one of the clans in the Great Xia dynasty. Shui clan. Although they were strong, they were still lacking compared to the Great Xia dynasty and the Great Xia dynasty. We seem to have been ambushed. We are missing one person. The elder from the Shui clan replied. Missing one person? Hearing this, the surrounding cultivators from the Great Xia dynasty frowned. Among them, a cultivator from the 9 Heavens Holy Ground sneered. What a bunch of trash. You don't even know that you were assassinated. What did you say? The elder from the Shui clan was furious. They were already pissed that they were missing one person. Now, someone dared to mock them? What? Are you not convinced that you are trash? The cultivator from the 9 Heavens Holy Ground sneered. They were not afraid of the Shui clan at all. Seeing that it was the 9 Heavens Holy Ground, the Shui clan gritted their teeth in anger. However, they had no choice. They could not defeat the other party. Hence they could only look gloomy. The elder from the Great Xia dynasty said in a deep voice. Be careful. Don't get ambushed again. After all, the 9 Heavens Holy Ground belonged to the Great Xia dynasty. Although it had nothing to do with them, it was embarrassing for them to be killed for no reason. Yes, we know. The elder from the Shui clan had no choice. They did not even know who the murderer was. Hence, they could only grit their teeth and swallow their anger. The group was ready to move again. However, at this moment, another scream was heard. Damn it. Wait, we are missing one person too. What? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Which clan was it? The cultivator from the Nine Heavens Holy Ground sneered again. Let me see who is so stupid to be assassinated. You are courting death. A terrifying power surged forth, causing the entire space to shake. The few martial artists who had sneered retreated, vomiting blood. Their faces were filled with terror. The rest of the people from the Nine Heavens Holy Ground roared furiously. Who was it? Did he not want to live anymore? How dare you ambush us? Your Nine Heavens Holy Ground is too arrogant. An even gloomier voice sounded. People from the Four Symbols Sacred Grounds. Seeing those people, many people shrunk their necks and did not dare to speak again. This was because the Four Symbols Holy Lands were no weaker than the Nine Heavens Holy Lands. More importantly, Jiuxiao Seiko wasn't in this passageway, but the four sacred beasts were. Therefore they did not dare to provoke him anymore. The Four Symbols Holy Grounds also had fewer people. The others did not even have the time to sneer or mock the Nine Heavens Holy Ground. Their brows furrowed even tighter. What's going on? If there was one less person in the Shui family, then they might have been assassinated. This was very normal. After all, the Shui family was not very strong. But now, the Four Symbols Holy Grounds actually had one less person. This was no ordinary matter. The Four Symbols Holy Grounds was a peerless holy ground that was incomparably terrifying. Moreover, the one leading the team was the Four Sacred Beasts. There were also many elders who could kill under their noses. They did not dare to imagine. Even if the other holy grounds and sects could succeed, they couldn't have done it so quietly. Could it be that there was a terrifying and mysterious assassin among them? At that moment, the crowd thought of Hell, World of Man, and other terrifying assassin organizations. Everyone was in danger. These holy grounds and sects checked their own teams. Then one by one they exclaimed, "Damn it, why are we missing one?" So are we. The elders of the Great Xia dynasty had a gloomy look on their faces. Their eyes were red as they scanned the surroundings. Who was it? Get out here. They realized that their Great Xia dynasty had also lost one person. What's going on? Seeing this, Lin Xian's face also darkened. Elder Li, check our people. Elder Li's gaze swept across and his face froze. One young master was missing. Who was missing? A young elite martial artist. Elder Li said. They were all peerless almighties. They could tell at a glance how many strands of hair each person was missing. Therefore, they were naturally able to notice the obvious absence of one person at a glance. However, this made them even more shocked, because they did not realize it before. If the Shui family did not mention it, they would not even know that they were missing one person. Damn it, what's going on? Lin Xian's face darkened. Elder Li Xingtian and the rest frowned. The dark red divine dragon looked around. Beside him, Shin Jingqiu and Murong Qingqing were also dumbfounded. Could it be that the top assassins were on the move? Shin Jingqiu narrowed her eyes. She had heard that there was such a terrifying assassin as hell in this world. Could it be that they were here? It shouldn't be them. Lin Xian shook his head. Not only us, but all the holy grounds and sects in this tunnel were missing one person. No matter how terrifying the hell assassins were, they would not be able to do this. I guess it must be because of what happened in the tunnel. Damn it, we still fell into their trap. Lin Xian's face was gloomy. They had felt that something was amiss when they had been traveling peacefully earlier. How could the tomb of a sage be so safe? Now, all the holy grounds and sects were missing one person. Moreover, it was done silently. This made their hair stand on end. For a moment, no one dared to move forward. Who knew if there would be people missing for no reason? Moreover, those missing people did not even have the chance to scream before they disappeared into thin air. This method was extremely strange. Everyone be careful. The elders of the great sage lands and sects reminded their subordinates. Then they continued on their journey. Lin Xian also gave Ruffian Dragon a few instructions. Ruffian Dragon used the needle set. He did not activate the Dragon Sword domain, but he had the dark red divine dragon set up a defensive array. Light flashed and the group set off again. Not long after they started walking, a gust of cold wind suddenly blew in front of them. Not only that, but the light on these people's bodies dimmed as if it was about to be extinguished. Seeing this, everyone stopped in their tracks again. They were all shocked and bewildered. They looked in all directions but they did not find anything. What's going on? Those people frowned. The dark red divine dragon also roared. Damn, the cold wind can even blow into the array. He was too shocked. The defensive array he set up was incomparably powerful. However, it could not defend against the cold wind. Chapter 2446. Lin Xian frowned. At this moment, Shen Jingqiu exclaimed and pulled Lin Xian's hand. Brother Lin Xian, look. Lin Xian turned around and saw Shen Jingqiu pointing at the ground. He looked at the ground curiously. In the next moment his pupils shrank. In an instant, the dragon sword field expanded and enveloped all the members of the immortal palace. This scene made the people from the surrounding sacred grounds puzzled. What did this kid discover? Even Xing Tian, elderly, and the others were puzzled. However, when they looked at the ground, their pupils shrank and a chill rose in their hearts. Damn it, what is this? They were too shocked because they realized that there was something wrong with their shadows. Where there was light, there would be shadows. Normally, the shadows of ordinary people would be humanoid. Even if these people were the shadows of peerless powerhouses, they would not change. However, it was different now. The shadows under the feet of Lin Xian and the others had strange shapes and were obviously demon-like existences. This was definitely not a human shadow. In fact, everyone suspected that it was not a shadow at all. There was a mysterious thing lurking under their feet. The people from the other sacred grounds, major sects and royal families also looked down. One by one they exclaimed, "Damn it! What is this?" The people from the four symbols sacred grounds were even more decisive. The four symbols saint snorted and stomped his feet. It was as if an electric hammer had descended from the sky. The entire passageway trembled. If it was not the tomb of a saint, this stomp would have destroyed tens of thousands of miles of land. However, although it was the tomb of a saint, the space inside was instantly destroyed. Countless cracks spread in all directions. However, the four symbols saint did not feel happy at all. This was because he realized that the strange shadows did not receive any damage at all. Damn it, what is this thing? These people were shocked again. They realized that the strange shadows under their feet were moving together with them. It was as if they were really their shadows. However, how was this possible? Some of the shadows were clearly in the form of demonic beasts. The people from the Great Xia dynasty snorted and the aura of the Tao of Dragons surged towards the terrifying shadows. Whoosh. The people from the Five Elements Palace spat out terrifying flames that enveloped those shadows. The people from the other sacred grounds and sects also made their moves. Lin Xian also coldly snorted. Countless sword chi slashed towards the strange shadow. The sword chi slashed the ground, creating a clanging sound. Even the void was shattered. After a series of explosions, the surrounding space boiled. When the light disappeared, they heaved a sigh of relief. They found that the strange shadow had disappeared. What was this thing? Were the people who went missing related to this thing? The martial artists of the Great Sage Land were discussing this matter. Lin Xian furrowed his brows and instructed, "All of you keep an eye on the surroundings. Don't get ambushed by these things again." Although they had chased away the freak's shadow, everyone's heart was heavy. They did not dare to be careless. Who knew what was waiting for them ahead? After walking for a while, he didn't find anything. The strange shadow on the ground didn't appear again. This allowed Lin Xian and the others to heave a sigh of relief. However, at this moment, another scream came from behind. This scream was very terrifying. It sounded like the roar of a malicious spirit. Everyone's scalp went numb. Even Shen Jingqiu and Murong Qingqing's faces turned pale. The two of them were a little angry. Who was that? Why was it wailing like a ghost? Lin Xian turned back. Everyone turned back to look. In the next moment, they all frowned because they found that the scream was actually from the Shui family. What was going on this time? The elders of the Great Xia dynasty also frowned. The elders of the Shui family trembled, and their faces were full of fear. What was going on? This scene caused the surrounding people to be puzzled. Could it be that something terrifying had happened again? They looked around and found that everything was normal. There were no strange shadows on the ground at all. Those people were also not injured. Could it be that there was one less person? At the thought of this, they looked defeated and quickly counted their own people. When they did the inventory, everyone froze. A hint of fear appeared in their eyes. A chill rose in their hearts. These people were mighty figures and powerful kings. Some of them were even peerless mighty figures and peerless geniuses. However, at this moment, the chill in their hearts was spreading uncontrollably. Big brother Lin Xian, what happened? Xin Jingqiu and Murong Qingqing were the most surprised. Because the two of them did not bring any subordinates, they did not know what had happened in Lin Xian's immortal palace. Therefore at this moment the two of them were puzzled. However, the others were solemn. Lin Xian's expression was not good either. Xingtian. The eyes of Elder Li and the others flickered. There was one more person. The dark red divine dragon swallowed his saliva. Although he was considered an old monster, he had never seen such a strange thing. He was scared. Damn it, why is there one more person? What? One more person? Hearing this, Xin Jingqiu and Murong Qingqing were also shocked. Murong Qingqing narrowed her eyes. She was a little worried about the people of the Jade Lake sacred ground. The people of the Jade Lake did not enter this passage. Instead, they entered the other two passages. But she did not know what strange thing had happened. It should not be too peaceful. Xin Jingqiu exclaimed and hugged Lin Xian tightly. The people of the other sacred ground sects and dynasties also had solemn expressions. They realized that the same thing had happened in their team. There was one more person. To be precise, there was not one more person. Wasn't there one less person before? Now, their number had returned to its original number. The person who was missing had returned. What was going on? At this moment, countless gazes were like heavenly blades, staring at those figures. To be honest, these geniuses and elders of the sacred ground had never encountered such a thing. For a moment, they surrounded that person and asked carefully. On Lin Xian's side, Elder Li and the others also asked coldly. Who are you? Are you a human or a ghost? The young warrior who had disappeared and returned looked at the strange gazes around him and was stunned. Elders, what's wrong with you? What did I do wrong? He had a blank look on his face. Xing Tian snorted coldly. Still not telling the truth? Speak. What are you? At this point, the void above the young man suddenly shattered, and a large palm firmly enveloped him and completely sealed him. As long as he made any movements, this palm would mercilessly fall on him. Sensing the shocking change, the young man's face turned green. He said with a trembling voice, I didn't do anything. I've been with you all this time. With us? What a joke. Peacock also snorted coldly. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.